1.
Hello. Welcome to Plat Chat episode 81. Welcome.
I think it's 82. Wasn't the last
Wait,
one
was
81?
it? No, this is
I don't
81,
know.
Matt. Well, at least I've written it down as 81.
This could be 82.
No,
Listen.
I swear it's at 82.
Matt, whatever I say.
Yes, it's 82. It's episode 82.
It's 82, yeah.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay. Well, welcome
We're
to
never
episode
going to
82
get to
instead.
100.
that,
You keep
Josh?
repeating
How
the
did you
same
not know
episodes
that?
over and over.
I'm
did you
stuck
not
in
know that,
Groundhog
Josh?
Day right now. Every day in the off season is just repetitive until Overwatch League begins. When Overwatch League actually begins and people can stop talking about scrimbucks and power rankings and we can just get to the meat of the meal.
No, you know what it is?
No.
You sit there and you watch these EU Valorant games and your brain just goes into just this like stasis of it just not even there, and you're just like, oh yeah, nice flash, and then you just wake up all of a sudden and then you're alive again.
I'm afraid this week it hasn't even been EU Valorant. It's been Pokemon. Me and Bren have been racing Pokemon, and my brain is just all I've been thinking about is Pokemon.
Didn't even introduce our guest.
Oh
yeah, there's been no introduction for me. That's fine.
I'm
gonna sit here. I'll just sit here. It's cool.
He didn't even say like, oh yeah, hey, we're joined by Avast this week. Thanks for coming on.
Welcome, everybody. Say welcome to new Bren. Welcome, new Bren.
Hi, new Bren.
Do I have to be new Bren? Can I pick a different character?
What character would you pick?
Can I just be myself? Can I just
You do that.
Do I have to be like a primitive man walking about grunting, or am I gonna have to start mimicking that as well?
We can't afford Avast. Be someone else.
Yeah.
Please.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Well, Avast is here, master of the companion stream, master of the power rankings, apparently as well, dealer in Scrimbuck Stock Exchange, etc., etc. So
master of the what was the first semester of the co-stream?
Master of the companion
But
stream.
also, I wouldn't be a dealer in the Scrimbucks either, because I don't deal in Scrimbucks. I stay out of that. You know, it's like how a dealer never takes their own supply. I just don't deal at all. Yeah,
it's like Dogecoin.
I don't know. Explain what that's supposed to mean, Matt.
Oh, it's just some fake bullshit that the internet hypes up every once in a while. Like, oh yeah, here's the Scrimbucks.
You are going to be Dogecoin holders are going to be pissed at you right now. The Dozers are coming. I can hear them. They're rumbling towards you.
Come ahead. You guys are all you're all gonna celebrate. You made 25 cents off of Dogecoin.
Matt,
go make a Reddit about it.
Do you still hold game?
No. I made like $100 and it was like, yeah, I'm out.
Nice, doubling your net worth.
Yeah.
Shout out to the net worth.
All right. Overwatch League begins on Friday. That's why we've all gathered here today to celebrate the opening of the Overwatch League on Friday. We're actually at the end of the off-season drought. It has the light at the end of the tunnel is right before us, and yet we must spend one more week talking about power rankings, and therefore we are going to do a review of other people's power rankings and shit on them relentlessly.
God, that's such good content. Content.
Yeah.
Power rank the power rankings. Did you see, by the way,
can we actually power rank people's power? That'd be the most meta shit ever.
That already exists. It exists on Reddit currently.
Oh, but it's not official until we do it.
But also bad power rankings or power rankings. We can make a better power rankings.
Exactly. Did you see as well that Dogman did a video, Dustin Bowerman, did a video of our power rankings, and it's one of his most watched videos. It's just a cycle, an endless cycle of horse shit.
I fast forwarded halfway through that video, and I think he had skipped some of it, and he was like, "Why are books for fun on the board?" He's like, "What does that even mean?" Oh, hold on, I gotta go get a book.
Wait, did Matt buy a book this week in order to prove us wrong that he has read a book?
That he reads, that he's literate?
Avast,
Is that the whole...
Did you hear this from last week? He has not read a book since the 1900s.
Okay, well, let's see what he has first.
So I was chilling the other day. I think I was playing some ranked or whatever, and Chelsea was like, "There's a package here from Zoe." I was like, "The fuck would Zoe send me a package?" She's like, "It looks like some kind of gift." I was like, "Wait, what?" So then Chelsea like read the label and she knew what it was, and she was like, "Open it up." And I thought it was gonna be like one of those things that like popped out and like surprised me, but it was a book, and it's a book called "How to Read a Book."
Did this not surprise you? Like a pop-up when you opened this, were you not surprised?
I was surprised.
Looking at a book?
It's a classic guide to intelligent reading. I haven't read it yet. I haven't opened it up, but it looks all right.
What does the first page say? Please.
Oh,
I'm just
a bunch of
curious
shit.
about
It's
this
like the
book.
table
Like,
of
I don't know-
contents and stuff.
Like I don't know.
Dude, when people say, what does the first page say? They don't mean literally the first page that has like the
you
author's
said-
information and
What's the
copyright
box
info on
What's
it.
the box the first page? So I said what it was.
Oh my
It
god.
says what is this? It's the goals of reading for information, reading for learning. I don't know. it's
Where's
just a bunch
reading
of
for fun?
bullshit.
Is
That
that
actually
reading for
sounds like a
fun?
really
No,
boring
that
book.
literally, it does not say at all that reading is fun. Nowhere here it says
That's
reading is fun.
that's feel like that's a bad book if it doesn't say you can read for fun.
Hold on, let me see. Yeah, what different types? Analytical reading.
Yo, what's
X-raying
your
a
word
book.
per minute, Matt? I feel like you're moving extra slow. I feel like you're moving extra slow.
I'm just
through
making
this.
sure I don't miss it that it says reading for fun, but no,
Man's
there's absolutely
brain is
zero
going through
chapter called reading
molasses.
for fun.
Oh, incredible. All right, well,
But if you
glad we
want to
went
learn
down
how
that
to
tangent.
read, I mean, maybe or figure out why you should read, get this. I don't know.
I don't think that's a book that teaches you how to read. Though.
No, I mean, how could you read it if you
teaches
can't read?
It teaches you why to read.
I think
It teaches you how
I
to
think it
make your
teaches
own
you-
book. Bro,
I think
who
it
the
might
fuck-
teach you
if you wanna
critical
make your
reading
own
skills.
book, if you want to make your own book and you got to read this book to figure out how to start making a book, you can't do it. Just don't start. I
that's
mean,
called
come
how
on
to read, not how to write a book.
now. It said how to make a book.
How to make it.
Matt, you are lost in the sauce. You are lost absolutely in the alphabetti spaghetti
Why?
sauce. Unbelievable. All right, what the heck were we supposed to be talking about? Power
Power
rankings.
rankings.
I think Kurt's
Power
made. I think Kurt's made like a good graphic of our shitty whiteboard that we got up one of the previous days. So I want to flash that in front of your eyes and just dazzle the crap out of you. Do we
So
have
we're going
that?
back over what we had already?
Yeah, yeah.
All right, give me a second to pull it up.
Because we'll now show you the true, all-powerful rankings.
It's actually no. There's a couple of mistakes on this one, Josh. Like I am embarrassed by this ranking.
What do you
like
mean?
when people come up to me and they're like, they actually don't come up to me because
Yeah,
People come up to me.
well, they're like, yeah, sorry, this power ranking it doesn't work. There's a couple of errors here.
What's
do you
the
mean?
errors?
Well, first of all, I stand by the fact that Atlanta is way too high based on Scrimbox exchange. Okay.
Oh,
Yes,
And-
fair.
Yeah. Some people would argue, Houston Outlaws a bit too low. Interested to hear Avast take here.
Mayhem, dude. Mayhem. What the heck? What were you guys smoking with Mayhem being so low?
do
This
you
is
mean?
crazy.
True.
Well,
True.
I don't.
You
think
guys,
that's
no,
crazy.
man. Ever since
I
I've heard the
don't know.
gargoyle take, Josh, I've mauled it over your interpretations
What
of
did
Mayhem
he say
for
about
like a year.
Gargoyle?
This was like a year ago now, but it's been embedded in my mind like a splinter. It's like a little Josh splinter, and every day
Yeah.
it grows closer to the surface. It's growing its way up as my skin skills get replaced. But it's when he said Gargoyle was a what was it, a Roadhog one trick, and he'd played
Yeah.
like 2 weeks of Roadhog before that, and then he came out and pounded. If he pounded before this, but that's besides the point. It's just about Mayhem being so low. I've mauled it over this Mayhem ranking myself.
Dude,
I've mauled it over.
Do you
it.
think
can't
that's
get
our
me to
worst
believe in
ranking?
OG. You can't get me to believe in OG. You just
It's
can't
not.
do it
It's
anymore.
not just about OG though. It's not just about the fact that you could put Rain over Mayhem even with OG is mind-boggling to me.
That was the
Why?
Custer.
Yeah, that was Scott.
Yeah.
No,
Fucking
I mean,
Scott.
it's just I do not agree with that ranking at all. That's by far the worst one. The rest of them I can sort of make arguments for, but Mayhem being below Rain, that one exploded my brain into a jelly-like paste.
We could have put NYXL higher, maybe too.
I mean, the thing with New York though is that they're
that's fair.
purely riding Scrimbucks. There's no on paper argument why you would have.
Yeah,
them
but
higher.
the Chengdu Hunters, I mean, they're just kind of we don't know really much about them. And
Dude,
Seoul
we
is.
do. They have some sicko players from the Chinese region that just dominated everybody else in
And
contention.
this completely contradicts my point from last week, where I said that I would put Chengdu higher than where they were.
I mean,
I said,
the only team that's terribly ranked here is Philly. Now that we know what we know about them from last
Yeah.
week, you know,
yeah.
That's fair.
like they're the only team that I feel like it's.
Well, we did put an
So
asterisk.
what?
You
We
said
could
you
switch.
change it
We
today.
could switch Chengdu and Philly. Put Chengdu at 5.
Chengdu's
If anything, swap Mayhem in Philly. If anything, swap Mayhem in Philly. Definitely not
Put Chengdu
Chengdu
up.
in
Put
Philly.
Chengdu up. Yeah, I think Chengdu's gonna be good.
Yeah,
Lord
I agree with that too, but they're
almighty.
not going to be better than I still don't find them going to be better than Mayhem, maybe. But at the very least, still, you know what? Just put Rain down. You know what? If you just put Rain down, everything's solved. In my
No,
mind.
I can put Florida at 7.
No,
There
not
you
that
go.
far down.
Oh,
Not
that-
that far down.
Oh,
I don't see how you guys underrate Mayhem so hard. Is it simply like they did very solid last year in North America? They still have like a pretty much the same lineup and now they've added OG, you know, and OG, sure, maybe consistency issues, but like in what universe do you look at Atlanta Reign that like they were tripping over their shoelaces the entire year? They haven't really changed anything other than add more DPS and then say this team's going to be better than Mayhem, which also has one of the best coaches in North America with Kuki. You
And
know,
more DPS, yeah.
I mean, like, and Yaki and BQB are definitely just as good as the Atlanta Reign DPS line.
I mean,
I
I
do
don't
not
agree with
take
that
blame.
aspect, but also
I 100% agree. They were so consistent last year. They were consistently amazing.
You
I
think
mean,
they were
all
very
meta.
good.
BB will be better than what?
they were very
Pelican
good when
and
they got
Edison?
on their specialty roles, but they don't have anywhere near the depth of the Atlanta DPS line. I think that's going to be
Yeah.
a weakness for them unless Checkmate can.
I
step
think
up.
you're underestimating them moving forward, though. I think you're underestimating their depth because we just haven't seen an Overwatch League yet, but they definitely are flexible
BQB's been
players.
playing for 1,000 years. You can't tell me we haven't seen everything that BQB can play. He's been playing since 1922.
Did anyone think BQB could play Hanzo? And he was one of the best and he was an incredible Hanzo. Like the thing is, he's with Kuki. He's like, this is a great team around him. I just feel like
BQB was
Mayhem is
on. He
harder.
was on McDonald's Mayhem.
Yeah.
I mean, he was. He was.
But no one thought he was going to be able to play Hanzo when they got him initially, and he did. He played Hanzo amazingly. I feel like people are just underrating Mayhem squad, like hardcore, especially the coaching aspect, where coaching is seen as a really important part of teams. And frankly, I don't know what the Atlanta Reign coaching staff is doing half the time.
You know what? We were going to go on and analyze other people's power rankings, but I feel like this is now a great opportunity to segue into this topic about the Atlanta Reign. Because Brad was talking, where was Brad talking about this topic? Was it Twitter, I think?
Yeah, he made a Twitter post.
Yeah.
There was a clip from Costa where he mentioned some of the stuff that everyone else has mentioned. That was like, you know, Brad should be general manager, but he's the head coach. You know, they're missing someone at coach, like a strategic coach, and to like build a culture, because we've seen what Brad has to offer, right? And I think he's trying to make the point that just like Packing 10 or some of the other coaches in Overwatch, like your head coach doesn't have to be the strategic genius. He can be the one building like the color of the team and like building out the atmosphere and just trying to make people gel. And even like we sometimes heard how some teams in the Overwatch League are player focused, right? Like the players drive the conversation and the strategy, right? In meetings, and then the head coach is just meant to be like the glue of the team and, you know, making sure that everyone plays their best and like communicates within the team. So I think that was what Brad was going for. And then right after that tweet, they announced Unter as assistant coach for the team.
He also pointed out that everyone always forgets that Danny is one of the coaches for the Atlanta Reign. Everyone always talks about it being just Brad and
well, he's an analyst, right? He's not a coach.
legit
Yeah, he's a
RC.
data analyst,
right?
I think.
Mate,
Well,
an
according
analyst
to
and a coach
Wikipedia.
basically have the same roles when
knows?
it comes to the
Yeah.
Overwatch League. You have no idea what
Yeah.
different coaches are doing anyway. I don't think
That's
he's like an
fair.
actual monkey only operating the numbers and just spitting out things on an abacus.
Yeah.
Well, I
Somebody's
worked
gotta
with
have
Mr.
some
Bleeple
output.
with Boston, and he didn't do coaching really, and he was the
Sure.
analyst season 1. So I mean, it
Sure.
really depends on his role, right?
I mean,
Yeah,
season
yeah,
one, that's when teams had 35 coaches each. I mean, offensive coordinator,
Yeah.
people just walking around the arena getting paid. I mean, I don't know what the hell's going on.
I mean, I think that all of the criticisms of Atlanta's coaching last year are absolutely valid. Nothing that Brad tweeted made me rethink any of those, to be honest. Even the point that like, oh, Danny is on the team and he's having an impact, etc. But I do think Unter's probably a good addition to this team, depending on how much he's given. It's not like Unter's like an extremely proven world class coach within the Overwatch scene, but he's done good work already. As soon as Gunber and Packing 10 moved over to the Valorant scene, Unter took, as far as I'm aware, large responsibility for the Overwatch side. And you know, Packing 10 is kind of trying to keep his feet in both parties at that point. But I think Unter was just given a huge amount of responsibility and authority on that team to enact his vision, and he did a good job with the LA Valiant. And doesn't really get talked about because everybody always mentions the people higher up from him with Packing and Gumber. But yeah, I think Unter should. I mean, this also might be part of why Atlanta are so highly rated in terms of scrimbucks coming in or whatever, where they're inflated based on that in the same way that I think NYXL are right now, where you can't make the argument for them on paper that well, but apparently they're doing very well, and this might be one of the like hidden reasons behind the scene.
Yeah, I mean, it possibly. I don't know. I mean, I still kind of think how we thought about Atlanta the last time. Is that what is my favorite part is when a shithead player refuses to play.
That's a whole other can of worms that we can't even begin to talk.
I
mean,
that's a whole episode topic.
The thing about this comment from Dante
What is
though
this
is
one?
that they never publicize it. Like how are the fans supposed to know
Yeah,
when
they're stuck.
nobody
in a bind
talks
there.
about it? Like if someone's being a
Yeah.
shithead, at least I mean, I don't know.
To be fair, it's a lose-lose situation for orgs because orgs have done it in the past, and it hasn't worked out very well for them. Like, so I mean, it's the reality is you don't win as an org because if you throw a player under the bus, even though they were partially the reason the bus got fucking stuck in the ditch, like they were the ones that drove it off the road. I mean, at the end of the day, like if you come out and say that, A, fans of those players or their teams aren't necessarily going to believe you, and B, that sours your reputation in the eyes of the public and for players, you know,
I don't
even
think
if
it
it's
always
rightly
does.
deserved. It doesn't always do, but it's still a lose-lose situation.
I think it's the orgs just being shitty at communicating a lot of the time and trying to be too pussyfooting around it. If you just come out, like if you have some situation like with, like with Crystal, where he just decides to fly himself back home, obviously no situation is that extreme usually, but if a player just refuses to play and you put out a statement saying they refuse to play, we've decided to bench them. Like, the communication is so clear that you can't possibly misinterpret that unless the player decides
that's tough
to
for
just blow up.
starters to just like if you go like straight off the bat like our player refuses to play, just like if you say that publicly, that is like even going to get even worse. I understand with Decay they probably should have done that like at some point, but even just like saying something like, hey, Decay
But they
isn't
did say
available
that
for
for
this
Decay. After they released them, they did say that, and the whole thing still did not turn in Dallas's favor.
Yeah.
Sure, but I think for a long time, people just had like question marks, and there were rumors going on, and like other coaches like talking about it on their Twitters, and it was just like a bad situation to begin with. But if it just came out and were like, "Hey, Decay is not available for this game because of personal reasons or like whatever," like trying to at least put out a statement rather than just like, "Oh, he's gone." Like we don't know where he is. He's gone.
You should just. I think I tend to be more like towards like where Josh is saying. Like you should just acknowledge why, like straight away. I think if you just say like, "Oh, this player is out for personal reasons," that just more questions are there. And then what? They're out 10 games of personal reasons. Like, okay, what the hell's going on?
It can't
like,
be 10, but it can be like 2.
Well, to be fair, I mean that has happened.
That has happened. Yeah.
Happened for multiple. But the point I'm making is not that I disagree with you. I do agree that teams should not. They should just say it because they need to break the culture of not saying something because the thing is they're just taking like an unnecessary amount of shit for no reason. But the reality is orgs are afraid to because traditionally it has not worked out well for them to say that this is what's and also there are nuanced situations, right? Especially since a lot of the times these situations arise because of the fact that they're on mixed rosters very often. And because of these mixed rosters with nationalities and languages, there is a lot of problems with communication. There's a lot of culture clash, right? And it's a very complex situation to accurately portray what's happening because a player on one side or on the other side can feel very differently about the same exact situation, right?
Definitely.
So that's the world we're in. It's like, I do agree. Org should be talking about this, but it's like a really tough situation to be the one who's going to do it. Because if you start doing it, then who else will?
This year is very different as well in terms of the power dynamic between the players and the organizations, remember, because the organizations are able this year to release people after like with 30 days worth of pay instead of the entire season's worth of pay. So that makes a huge difference. You can't just as a player decide to bench yourself and just continue getting paid for the entire year. Yeah. Which is going to incent. I mean, that puts the power way more back in the org's favor, like massively back, where they can. I mean, in some sense, some situations do shitty things, but in others, it's going to disincentivize players from acting like that in the first place.
Yeah. I feel like we've gone so far away from the coaching.
I mean, what the fuck were we talking about this for?
Because Dante's tweet was pretty fire underneath.
Well, that's because Dante's tweet was directly essentially going into the fact that like, also, no matter how good your coaches are, you can't solve personality issues for the most part, I guess is the pertinent factor to that, is the more pertinent factor that he was alluding to.
And I think like, oh, sorry. What are you going to say, Josh? Oh, and I think like you can have coaches. I think Brad is kind of like right in the sense like you have coaches who can be like more analytical, who can help players kind of get to that point. But then I think also like the head coach kind of settles the disputes, keeps everybody on the same page, like kind of sets the tone of the group for everybody. and I also think it's probably frustrating from the players on some teams. Like you end up being told what to do by a coach, and you're just like, half of the team is like, this is dumb, but they don't want to say anything because that's the coach. But then half of the other team just like goes with the flow, whatever. Where I think it is probably better to have the players have more power with somebody who's like more analytical minded and could watch the game, deliver data, really go over stuff, and then have somebody who kind of mediates those conversations. Like that's probably the way to go.
Yeah, I mean that kind of stuff can be really good. Depends what system you have in place. I mean, at the end of the day, the Atlanta Reign didn't have a good system in place. They sucked at fulfilling their potential last year. But I do feel more confident about them moving forwards this year. Not a huge amount more confident, but I do feel more confident.
Did you guys see what Rush said about the Dallas Fuel and the paper today?
No, in the paper.
Yes,
today.
I did see that, and I'm gonna be honest. It gives me very strong Matt Rodriguez flame vibes.
Wait,
I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, okay, hold on. So let me
take.
So they asked like about the meta and like the tracer hole and whatnot, and like some of the answers were like odd. Oh, hold on, Hugo's eating this book.
Hugo's eating the book.
Well, at least he's consuming literature. At least he is. He's one person.
What the fuck has happened in this podcast?
Where's the rest of where everyone has gone?
Hold on. Okay, so when they asked like about like like other teams playing Tracer and like what they could do, whatnot, he basically said like, I'm sure we can beat them without playing Tracer, honestly, which kind of goes into what me and you were talking about, Josh, of them trying to play like Sombra stuff.
Yeah, I think they're going to just do that all season.
What I believe is that a meta is something that you can create with your own roster in a unique way. So short term, in the Overwatch scene, I would say that I can confidently say that I'm the person who can make the most creative meta as possible. And then it was like, which meta fits the best for the fuel? Anyone that focused heavily on flex DPS?
Every single time a head coach has a galaxy brain take like that, they are proven to be wrong within a matter of months. And normally it doesn't take that long. I mean, Wizard Hyung as well, casual, typical genius, immediately egg on his face. I mean, many other examples.
Well, to be fair, there is. I don't think that's 100% always the case. For example, Valiant made it work with KSP trying to play that Ashe comp very frequently before everyone else was.
The Torb Ashe play.
But now that being said, it only works when the characters are not a giant meta hole. Like you're not missing. But Tracer is such an important character in Overwatch in general I struggle.
And then he said that he thought that Exience or Sparkle could catch up to the level of an Owl Tracer specialist, and it wouldn't be that crazy to not expect them to be able to do that.
But those are the kind of takes that you always hear from within teams. Like, oh yeah, this guy's talented enough; he's going to be able to make it. But when you look at it from outside, you have a much clearer perspective. I think you don't get blinded by the biases of believing in your own teammates.
I love to. Somebody on Reddit was like, they had the clip about the metas they quoted, and they're like, I can't tell if this is 200 IQ or 20 IQ. He's like. And then it says the comment was like, I feel like this would work in tier 2, but against top tier Owl teams that have mastered the meta, I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, I think that's very reasonable. Like if Rush is coaching Element Mystic and they're playing at a tier 2 level, even if it's a really high tier 2 level, and it's, like mid Owl is where the top of contenders normally is. I could see them like playing some specialist stuff. Like when Element Mystic played a ton of Doomfist goats and like Sombra Doom stuff, and they were defining the meta within their region. You can only define the meta within your region if you are the best team, and like that's a bit of maybe a little bit of like putting the cart before the horse as well, because
I mean, yeah,
you can define if you find the right meta, you will become the best team, but normally you have to be considerably fundamentally better than your opposition to define a meta that isn't what everybody else is playing. Like
when I read it, I was
in Europe, or like the Shock.
Yeah, I was a bit kind of like taken back a little bit, like almost scared. I was like, this is because this is a type of like scenario or play that only goes one or two ways. Like you either accomplish this and you set the meta and you're ahead of it, or you're just trying to play oddball stuff like Chengdu Hunters to try and like stay in the thick of it. Like there's no what I mean, you could be a mediocre team doing that, I guess, but it's a really risky kind of way to look at things.
It depends how open the meta is. There's only 4 regular season games per stage, and that means that there's going to be less data for people to really like figure out the meta 100%. We're going to have hero pools changing every stage as well, or like some without and some with, so it will change every stage. So I could see a world in which this is the most open season yet, even if the balance of the game isn't as open as it ever has been. Just the fact that you aren't playing constantly means that you might not distill the meta down to its perfect state as quickly. So I could maybe see that happening over the course of the season, but I think it's unlikely based on the past.
Yeah, I mean, some other quotes are like, I think our mechanics are superior to other teams because of our hero pools. And I think we can complement each other and make the best comps possible for us. Rush felt like they didn't really need that Tracer player because Tracer's not as OP anymore.
I mean, what is that?
He
based
says
on?
as Tracer really heavily defined last year's meta a lot.
Yeah.
No, I mean if you scroll
lot
up
of the
there, I think
off-season
he says like above these tweets. Yeah, honestly, I would be more concerned if Tracer was still OP.
I don't know what he's
think-
referencing there.
This is all predicated upon the fact, though, that this isn't like, it's one thing if you're missing a piece that has not traditionally been a staple of teams and like a traditional staple of like, there's no other hero that fills that role. But there are certain roles that you just need, in my opinion. One of those, a main tank player. Hence, Chengdu didn't have a main tank player for a really long time, you know? And also, it's why I'm excited about them now they have Gaga, because that guy can play main tank and can be very, very silly. Another one, Tracer. You sort of just need a Tracer player. You just need one, you know? If I could get through a lot of meals with just a spoon and a knife, but sometimes I need a fork. It's kind of a very basic part of eating. And so like, that's how I feel about Tracer, because at some point in the future, Tracer will be back. And then you're going to be real pissed when you have to put the Sparkle Tracer versus Striker. You're going to be real pissed.
There's always one part of every season where Tracer becomes good again.
Yes, because no one else does what Tracer does. No other hero does what Tracer does. So at one point, when you get to that sort of meta, Tracer is going to be the defining factor when she's just dicking on you left and right. And you're like, guy, we demech the diva. We demech the diva, guys. Like, it's not good roster building.
All right.
Did they say in the article whether it was Moon's decision or not Moon, Rush decision or Hastro's to not like get a Tracer player? Because
as far as I'm aware, that Hastro wasn't. As someone that has inside info in a way, as far as I'm aware, Hastro was sort of like Rush Tasmo build the roster. So I don't think Stro has been very involved.
Because I thought the ambition was
like
to
a Rush
win,
decision,
make the best roster possible. Like this was supposed to be the year, and you're gonna like play it safe. Like, no. We don't need a Tracer player.
Play it safe. I feel like they're gambling like
championship
crazy.
year. Okay.
I don't think Castro deliberately said, "Don't sign me a Tracer player."
Yeah,
I think it just
Castro, he got
way.
like the foundation, you know, like he built like, okay, I want Rush, I want to have this foundation here, but you're building out all the you know, the minute pieces of this thing, and like you're the one in charge of all the specifics.
Okay, before we start molding about Dallas, let's take a look at some other people's power rankings. Let's get back to this. We get back on track. We took a detour with Atlanta and went all over the place. We ended up molding about Dallas. I feel like this is going to be a continuing theme throughout the year. So instead, let's power rank the power rankings. Jonathan, which one do you want to go to first?
Of all the power rankings in the world.
Yep, all the power rankings in the world. What are you looking at first?
In the order I listed them to you, but now when I don't have it there, let's do Jaws. Jaws power ranking is getting a lot of talk these days, you know, a pretty controversial one. Yeah. You know, he did his own thing. I'm curious.
Dallas at 3.
How...
Come on. I mean,
okay, Dallas 3 is high. Dallas 3 is very high.
Has he forgotten that Washington Justice rebuilt their roster this year? What are they doing down there?
Here's what I'm going to say, actually. Well, also, I like to separate mine out by NA and APAC. So, like,
sure.
This is a little bit more spaghetti to me. But I'm going to be honest. Justice, I think, deserves to go pretty high. But I think people are hard overrating Justice and hard underrating. He's got Mayhem high. So I like Defiant. I don't know why I'm the only one that's big on Defiant. I'm the only person that likes Defiant currently.
Tell me. Explain.
Why? every part. First of all, every part of their roster has gotten better. Every single part. Like, what part of it? They have Hisu, they have Sato, they have Michelle, a hard underrated off tank player. They have Ansu J, a great support player. They have Lastro, an amazing flex support player. Like, what part of this roster is bad?
Okay. Counter argument. Okay, and another team that is also better from last year, Vancouver Titans. So you saying that the team is better doesn't like tell me much.
It's not about. I just listed the players. I didn't say they're better, Jonathan. I listed the players. So you're gonna tell me Vancouver's progression is equal to Defiant's progression?
Better than last year. So when you tell me Toronto is better than last year, I'm like, okay.
But I didn't just say better last year. Their roster is top. They had some of the best players and a hard underrated player. Like, all those players just listed for minus Ansu J are proven veterans in Overwatch League that did well. So, every single one of them.
This power rankings can't be how Jaws actually feels. Like, you have this is the perfect power ranking to farm Twitter followers, because you will get the Dallas Fuel Andes. They'll come in and be like, yeah, I love Jaws, he's the best caster, yeah, he put us third, whatever. And then you'll have tons of people like I think I saw Pre like quote tweet this and be like, this guy's dumb. And then you'll get a bunch of followers from that. I mean, he didn't say that, but like he was like, yeah, I mean, this is.
Pre would quote tweet and say, we built this.
It was something like that. But like, come on now, you put Washington down low, you're kind of dumb. Like. This is what it was. Josh trying to farm some followers. He's close to 10K, so go follow him on Twitter. But
I mean, I think you got those reversed. The Fusion fans are the ones that are like, oh yeah, we're underrated. Fuel fans are like, we suck. We're gonna lose again. You think the
Fuel fans really think they're gonna?
Yeah, I think if you've seen the sentiments of Fuel fans, everyone's like, I'm prepared for the worst. Fusion fans, their house could be on fire. They're gonna be walking out like playing on laptops and like trackball mice, and they're like, we're still gonna win the Overwatch League. Like 100%. That's what Fusion fans would be doing, not Fuel fans. They've experienced too much heartbreak.
Yeah, I think
this is the year though.
All right, this is some mold in inducing shit that we're looking at here. Also, hard overrating all of the APAC teams as well. I'd like to say
Guangzhou.
Like that. So I mean,
what?
Guangzhou being that high is a fucking
Atlanta below Hangzhou. I mean, come on.
I swear, I just don't understand the Atlanta hype. It's the same team plus better DPS.
Yep. Yeah. Agreed.
It's the same team plus better DPS.
I'm also saying we're underrating Florida. So me and Avast agrees.
Yes. 100%.
Let's go.
All right, who's the next power ranking to go and rip to pieces, or possibly agree with? Throw one up on the screen, Kurt, and we'll massacre it. Look what they did to my boy. Oh, Avrils. Okay. What does he say?
This makes a bit more sense.
Oh my God, rain is so high. My eyes, my fucking eyes. Boston's above Mayhem.
Wait, what is this? I mean, Mayhem is hard underrated here. Unbelievably.
Spitfire in this universe? What? No way. No fucking way.
This is going into week 1. Okay,
Bro, you gotta remember, Avril's on a weird time
schedule.
He's on a weird time schedule. You don't know any of this.
It doesn't matter. I don't care about a sleep schedule.
This must be this meta. Okay, this meta going into week 1 is his rankings. I think
people don't even know what the meta is. I know that people have been playing a shit ton of Rush in like ranked and stuff, but in the games that we've been seeing recently in like scrims and stuff, it hasn't just been all Rush. The meta always changes slightly just before the season anyway. How are people basing all of their ideas based on like the fact that they know what the comp is and they know what the scrimbucks juice are? I don't get it.
It shouldn't matter. The comp shouldn't matter. It's just to be about what you feel about these teams.
But I don't understand. You can't do true power rankings like week 1 power rankings when you have no data. You have to do like end of season, surely. What is?
Oh my God.
Where's it? Oh my God, the Hangzhou Spark are just getting murdered again over there.
They really are. The Spark are getting murdered.
I'm repping my little pink boys. They're going to overperform expectations.
I feel like Spark they're getting hard scrimbucks right now, because you look at this roster and you look at how they performed last year. Like they weren't amazing, but they definitely had a relatively solid year at the end of the year, and they've added good pieces. So I'm like, I don't understand why people hate Spark so much now.
No, scrimbucks.
No,
yeah, it's scrimbucks. It's straight scrimbucks. And I hate it.
Scrimbucks.
And I hate it.
I want someone to do a literally this is scrimbucks ranking so that we can compare actual preseason scrimbucks to the end of season rankings.
We won't get that.
So I think that was Mikey's. Was it Mikey?
I think you're right.
And he posted that, and like, well, Crimso was like, "This is right because Houston Outlaws is high." I don't know if it was actually accurate, but
these ones, I feel like you would need a collaborative effort to create a true scrim box because teams don't scrim every other team in the league. They just don't.
Yeah.
And also on top of that, each scrim is different from the last. Some scrims are going to be some team's going to have a bad day in scrims. Sometimes they're going to have a good day in scrims, and that's the day you play them. That's why basing it on scrim bucks is silly. It's stupid. Like, it's so dumb. Like, every team has a different objective as well going into scrims, even if they win a lot of them. Like, it doesn't matter.
You don't scrim to get better or practice things. You scrim to win.
See, bad teams do that. Bad teams scrim to win because then they can flex the scrim box.
I'm being sarcastic.
I know you are, Matt, but I'm so
Atlanta Reign had like
this.
what did they say? Atlanta Reign had like an 80% scrim win rate last season. They only lost to the top 3 teams in NA.
That's so fucking PogChamp. That's so fucking PogChamp.
That Houston Outlaws lost to the Boston Uprising in round 1 of the playoffs last year, and we're like, yeah, but we're winning scrims, and it's like immediately it's just turned around, and people listen to Scrimbox all the time. This has been the worst Owl Twitter / Reddit meta.
I know,
in like months, in over a year. This has been the worst 2 weeks
Reddit
meta ever. Yeah, dude. Like every day I wake up and I browse competitive Overwatch or like open Owl Twitter, and it's like some pro or like some coach or something just like whining about like, oh, Scrimbox, tells us if this team is better or worse, and then like Reddit goes crazy. It's like, oh, Dallas Fury are like 11th in the league, and it's like, shut the fuck up, dude. Like, it's Scrimbox. Wait for the matches to start. We got 4 more days.
The other problem as well is some of them are going to be right, but some of them are going to be wrong, and you can't tell which is which. That's the thing. You just never know which is which. Some teams are going to have their Scrimbox pay off massively.
Yeah, just wait. That's all.
Oh, I thought you were telling me.
Oh, no.
I was confused. I was like, what the fuck is he going to do?
Just chill.
All right, have you got some more power rankings for us to go through? I'm enjoying this molding session. I feel like we need to just link hands and enjoy some spiritual healing
Atlanta
right now.
at 3, there it is.
Zucchini Panini. This man's off the motherfucking goop with this. I'm not gonna lie. This man's off the. He talked to me about this. Like, I was like, I think I told him. Maybe I didn't, but like, I think these.
Dude, look at the top 5 teams.
Houston and Reign in top 4, above Mayhem Justice, and
what the hell is he doing with the Justice?
I mean, like, I'm not even a big Justice fan, but that's still criminal. Bro. Like, but it really, this rain shit, it's gonna give me a hemorrhoid. When I see Reign any higher than this again, I'm gonna get a hemorrhoid if I see another person place Reign this high. I don't get it. I don't understand.
People gotta start checking his Diet Coke. There's some shit in that Diet Coke. I mean, this ain't right.
Goop.
This is a fucking fun one as well, because I also said on
why is there a tier break between the Defiant and the Fuel? Like they were gonna battle it out for fucking 12th place. The fucking the Justice, the Fuel, and the Defiant. Like, God,
I love this. I love that he's put multiple tier breaks between some tiers.
Why are there 2 tier breaks between Guangzhou and
tier breaks if he truly believes that they're that big of a space between them. Yeah. Thing. I'm assuming that's what it implies.
Yeah,
but it just seems hard to believe.
I mean,
what I'd say.
I love this. Look at Bren's reply.
I mean, to be fair, that's. The thing is, I don't even agree with Justice being high. It's just crazy that the other team.
I said this in our Power Rankings episode. I kind of agree with ZP that Washington, to me, do fit the bill of a team that looks like too good on paper that they're going to underperform. But they're not going to underperform down to like fucking 8.
I mean, pull it up. I mean, bro, put fucking Decay and Fury with whoever the fuck, and they'll be better than some of these teams. I mean, come on.
Yeah, that's the create. That's it.
God, I love these. They're fantastic.
Now, whenever we get up to mine, by the way, because I'm assuming we're going to do mine, I will say that I will have made some. Mine were done many months ago, so I would have made.
Here we go.
The
caveat.
Overall, I stand by it. I'll stand by it though when we get to mine.
Okay.
I will stand by it for the most part.
What have we got next, Kurt? Oh, hexes. Okay, what's he got? I don't believe in Scrimbox at all.
Hex so smart. This is why he's producer now. Hex so fucking smart.
What the fuck is going on in the East region, though?
East region, I don't even. I don't know what's going on with that.
Okay. That's odd. I mean, these are what I would consider. These are what I would consider to be when the team was announced. this is exactly where people expected them to be. Like, as the team got announced, like Shock number 1, Gladiators, Florida, Justice, Dallas.
I'm still missing Defiant. Why? Someone explain to me why we don't like Defiant. Why is it only me?
To be fair, I think the Defiant on these power rankings are underrated. I expect them to be somewhere around like the slightly above Boston is where I would expect them.
Well, I mean, to be fair, they were the same for like every power ranking we've seen so far. Defiant has been towards the bottom. Not a single power ranking has had Defiant higher. Well, it's crazy to me.
We had Defiant above Boston and Houston, didn't we? Yeah, we had.
We did.
Okay, that's
13th overall.
I think New York is a bit low on the Asia.
Well, but this is
like in the it's like in the bog, dude.
But this is also Hex not believing in Scrimbucks, right? That's what you get. It's the trade.
And also Hex like I don't know, like every single one of those players is a rookie too, and like Hex has like pretty good knowledge on the rookies, but maybe like not super in depth on the New York, which is fair to like not necessarily rate that because they're not veterans, right? They're brand new players. You don't know what they're going to do.
There's also a risk with picking up rookies. You don't exactly know that they're going to perform the same as scrims. Like rookies are the most variable from scrims to matches. In theory, that doesn't always work out as the case.
So that's like a perfectly fair power ranking to me, in my honest opinion. That is like the absence of Scrimbucks.
I mean, apart from Chengdu. He is smoking the most.
They're in the zone. They're in the zone. Yeah, they're in the zone.
Yeah. We ignore that. We ignore that. Clearly something weird going on there. All right. What's next, Mr. Curtis?
I don't know.
I don't know why I thought
waiting. John Spectors.
I like these.
Yeah, I like these. These are more these are like what the fans should be making. You know, where don't apply your analytical brain. Apply your like story.
At least he put a potential
brain.
for redemption arc for Defiant. John Spector is the smartest power ranking I've seen yet with Defiant. He is literally the smartest I've seen yet when it comes to Defiant. It's crazy.
He's like in the middle of the table on the rain. Yeah.
I think, unfortunately, Philly look like they might not be tournament arc bosses, but maybe if they get their players back, for sure. It's a bit weird that Seoul isn't in there, honestly, in tournament.
Why is this all weeb based? I feel like there's a lot of weeb based things in here. Is John Spector a weeb?
Yeah,
Overwatch League is anime. You didn't know that?
Okay.
Yeah. Do you agree with the main character being Dallas? I feel like it might be.
Yes.
100%. 100%.
Even if they're not good, the league just rotates around them. Like it just kind of like they just consume everything.
I mean, they consumed Paris this year. Paris had to die for them to live. They just sucked the life out of them.
But you say that, but then maybe they won't live at all. Maybe they have a really bad season, and then it's just a tragedy in 2 parts.
Yeah.
God, I don't want to see them be that bad.
I highly doubt they're going to be that bad myself. I highly doubt they're going to be that bad.
No, they're not. Look, they got Fearless Hanbin tank line. Like they're not going to be that bad.
I mean, and they have Fielder Jexa support line.
Can someone explain to me? Can someone explain to me what the tune-in exam arc is?
Sorry, I don't know.
That's a Naruto thing, right? I remember this. It's a Naruto thing.
Naruto
and
thing.
it's like but you say it says training camp, so I think it's like they're training. They're getting stronger. So that's what they're doing. They're getting stronger. They're like it's like little baby birds, and their mother's feeding them with ground up worms, and they're growing stronger by the day.
Right, is that what Naruto is?
Yeah, that's what Naruto's about. If you haven't
birds?
Seen it. So yeah, it's about birds being fed by. So that's what it is. That's a summary.
You could get mad to believe that. I don't think he's seen any TV program that's been.
And you're not going to read to know any different because you don't even want to read a book.
I don't watch any anime. No anime for me. No.
Love Island. That's what it's about.
Love Island.
You watch the worst TV.
The Bachelorette.
You watch those shows?
Yeah.
Oh, I love those.
I came over to him for Thanksgiving there,
those shows.
like 2 years ago, and we were like watching football. I was like Atlanta Falcons and stuff, and then he just turned on Love Island.
Football in the Bachelorette?
Yep.
That's rough.
I play Bachelor Fantasy. I play Bachelor Fantasy. Yeah.
Me, Johnny, and Bren. We're watching the football game. Thanksgiving football game. Matt walks in the room, turns on Love Island. This is Thanksgiving, by the way. We watched 2 episodes. Bren is drinking some random concoction that Matt made. I have never seen the most it's the most disgusting mixed drinks I've ever seen in my life, Matt. What do you have to say for yourself?
Well, Chelsea told me you have to measure it all out. So I just started eyeing him out, and I maybe gotten a little heavy-handed, little bar ZP on him,
Yeah.
Just
Barzy P is exact. I don't know what you're talking about. Barzy P, he has that down to a science.
He's providing alchemy back there. He knows the recipes.
Student for sure.
Yep.
Did we ever find the Avast power rankings, or are we moving on?
Yeah, I
without
did, but it's from his YouTube channel. From
Oh,
YouTube.
well, I mean, well, let's play that for the impressions.
dude, he's gonna copyright us, bro. He's gonna copyright.
I'm about to give you the copyright strike. This is split into APAC and North America, by the way. And I will say, as I said, I would definitely change this a little bit if I did them today. But overall,
Toronto higher than the Justice.
Yeah.
How am I supposed to read this?
Yep. I think people are hard underrating Defiant. I don't know why people are underrating Defiant so heavily, but they are.
You have Toronto at 5th place in NA.
Yep, I do. I do indeed.
Why do you think?
Is my camera frozen, or is that okay?
Yeah.
It's back.
Everything
I was
froze
stuck in a weird. I was stuck in a weird position.
Do you Oh, here we go. Here we
Kurt
go.
is so fast.
Why? I'm assuming that you're rating Toronto essentially based off their tanks and their supports, though. Not their DPS line in any sense.
For Defiant, I'm rating them. You're saying?
Yeah, because their DPS line, I think, is significantly poorer and less deep than any of the teams in the top.
I would say I would agree with the DPS halfway, because Hisu is top tier, amazing, and then it's just sort of where does Nice stand, right? And I kind of agree with that. But their tanks and supports both look incredible, and I think everyone forgets KDG exists, and KDG is like one of my most underrated coaches in the league, and I think, and he's the head coach of Defiant. And to be honest, Justice couldn't coach their way out of a paper bag last season. They literally only they literally only had any success when the meta shifted and they got the K. If they had not gotten the K and the meta didn't shift, they would have been boned. They would have been totally boned last year.
A team improves with better players.
But it's not just better players. It's because they were able to not play main tank. Like, they didn't learn how to play main tank, and they didn't teach. At no point did they teach their main tank player how to play main tank.
But
so in my opinion, I don't rate Justice coaching highly currently.
No, I wouldn't rate him. I wouldn't rate them either. But I think there's other teams that have been towards the top level without like for example, if you want to go that kind of argument as well, the Gladiators coaching last year was exceptionally poor in terms of the results that they actually put down on paper. I know that people, DPAs are slightly different because DPAs actually had success in the past, or at least reasonable levels of success. I think they finished 5th in 2019 or something like that. Anyway,
yeah.
And 5th in 2018 as well, I think. But that's another team that people are rating exceptionally highly based on the basis of their players, not based on. I mean, I don't think anybody's really.
But Gladiators also were consistently better than Justice last year.
Oh yeah,
until the meta shifted.
But
and now he just has better players. So the reason is, by all logical accounts, if you have a team that was super consistent with meh players last year, and then you have a team that's going to be super consistent with great players, then therefore they should be better than the team with great players with not good coaching that were consistent.
Can we pull Avast's ranks up again, please?
Like, people are heavily overrating that.
What's going on with Guangzhou and Seoul Dynasty over there?
Okay, so first of all, this is definitely one of the things I would amend a bit. I would amend my ranking with Seoul months later now. This was I would amend this now that I've reflected on it more.
What did Seoul do to you? They didn't even make many changes.
But I'm going to give you, but I still actually wouldn't have Seoul that high, and here's my reason. I think a lot of people are putting Seoul really high right now, A, for Scrim Bucks, and 2, I think Seoul Dynasty is fundamentally broken as long as Prophet and Gesture are in the same team together. And it's not because those players are bad. It's not because they have attitude issues. It's just because they have some sort of force field between the two that causes this team to not know how to play Overwatch until the meta shifts, until Gesture does not know how to play main tank. It's wild to me how I feel like this team is fundamentally broken at its core. That is my one. It's my one superstition. I think Seoul Dynasty is fundamentally broken with those two players on that team.
See, that is such a wild hot take. They're like the most successful duo in the history of Overwatch.
But the thing is, they had no success last year until the meta shifted. They were wildly inconsistent, and they were not good the year before that either. They were good one year, and they were also wildly inconsistent that year until The meta shifted. So like it's like I just don't. I find that team is too inconsistent for my
They
take.
dominated 2017. They were fantastic at the beginning of 2018, met in the middle, and then peaked hard towards the end.
They did not.
As well.
I'm pretty sure if I remember,
They were in the stage playoffs for stage 1.
Yeah, but they didn't dominate. They were just good, and they dominated at the end of the year.
That's fair enough. They didn't dominate the beginning because
and they were pretty bad for 2 years until, especially the season 2. But season 3, they were pretty mad until the meta shifted again, and Gesture got to play not main tank.
But then why would you put the blame on those 2 players? Why wouldn't you put the blame on like the caller of Badoshin or the coaching structure? Why would you put the blame on the 2 players that provide them the success?
It's simply because I think their energy is so powerful that it's fundamentally warped around them like a black hole. And I think that's what it is. And it has nothing to do with them being bad. I think they're championship caliber players. I think they're really, really good. It's just something about them and this duo being together on Soul Dynasty means I can't rate them highly. I just can't do it. Now, would I put them higher than where I have them in that ranking now? Months later, yes, I would put them higher than that. But
what about if Marvel was playing main tank more often? Because that's one of the main reasons why I rate them much more highly than I do last year.
Yes, I would say that's perfectly fair. I would say that's perfectly fair. And that's why I said I would adjust my ranking for them now. In hindsight,
I'm just not high on them. Like I'm not as low as you. I mean, come on. I mean,
yeah, I'm actually looking back. I'm exceptionally low on this team.
Yeah.
But I shouldn't have been that low, but I would still have them pretty low compared to most.
Okay. I'm low on them because it was an. What are you gonna say, Johnny?
I cannot keep it inside any longer. Okay, I need to speak out. I'm sorry. Why is Guangzhou Charge at number 2?
Okay, so this is an exceptionally hot take. People don't like what I have to say.
This one is a fiery one.
People don't like what I have to say about this.
Shut down on this podcast because I disagree with so many takes that fundamentally I don't have the sanity or the emotional energy to keep talking and discussing and disagreeing.
This is a Bren picking Shanghai Dragons at 0-30 hot level of pick.
Listen. Charge was relatively consistently the second best team in APAC last year. Relatively consistently, not all the time, but relatively consistently, second best team in APAC last year. And yes, Soul Dynasty looks like they've shored up their positions. Like everyone seems like they've done better. But personally, I think they still have one of the best support players in the league. Even though they lost Shu, I think people are underrating Kariv from his time with Defiant last year. I think Kariv is actually really, really good. People are underrating him pretty heavily. Overall, they still have key parts of their team that I think that are great, like Rio, Eileen, and Krong. And then on top of that, I think the incoming additions of Chosiwon and MK Lee and also Jihoon are actually going to be really, really good. And people are underrating this roster because they see some names that they don't expect. I also think Charge's coaching staff is actually been pretty solid. And they have the one thing that's kind of a question mark for me is Neko, because he's never really coached a lot. But I don't really consider him he's not as big of the picture for me as Iraq. Oh, what is it? So like, what is it? It's Arachne.
Would you still put him at number 2?
You'd put them over Chengdu.
I personally still would put them above Chengdu simply because Chengdu, that team just refuses to do things that I want them to, and I don't think they can get the silly out of their bloodstream.
Why the fuck is Chengdu the measuring stick? Why have you come up with the Chengdu measuring stick?
People are underrating Chengdu in APAC too.
Yeah,
because
I agree.
That team is actually explosive, and they have a main tank player. They have a main tank player now.
Chengdu is coming this year.
They're good.
Chengdu have an excellent roster, but they are going to continue to make bad coaching decisions.
No, they aren't.
That's why I would put Charge above Chengdu, and that's my reason why I put Charge above Chengdu.
I'm getting on the next flight to fucking Chengdu, and I'm fucking getting this team right.
I actually think Chengdu are going to be really good with time. I think Chengdu are going to actually be really good throughout the year. I just think that Charge, in my opinion, has a better core, a better coaching staff, and the people are underrating their players.
I think we're a few episodes away from this show just becoming me, Josh, and one guest just throwing out just ridiculous takes because Johnny's mental it looks like you've just lost it, mate. It looks like you've just had it with us.
Well, I actually agree with Avast and his take on the Guangzhou Charge. I do actually.
People just don't want to think about it. People don't want to think about it. People just want to shit on it.
Better than Chengdu.
Okay, there's a clear logical problem. There's a clear logical problem with all of the arguments that Avast is making, which is comparing the team to how they were last year and basing that as the Like, Guangzhou are second. They have made improvements. Therefore, they should still be in second. There's other teams like the Spark that have made...
That's not the pure logic behind it. It's simply saying that's not the pure logic behind it. It's only part of the logic. It's the fact that you're taking other teams have improved, right? But Charge has a settled core that was good last year that should still be good this year because they have no meta deficiencies and they've added players that are underrated, right? Sure, other teams have improved, but I personally think that people are looking at the new additions for other teams and just forgetting that the Chargers core is so strong and their foundation is great.
Yeah.
It is not just they did good last year, therefore good this year because new players. It's because I don't think people are rating the new additions highly enough. And I also feel like that their current core would still keep them in the top percentage of APAC.
And that's where I drastically disagree with you, because I think that you apply that logic to previous years and you would be rating the Spark from last year as one of the best in APAC. They finished 4th in 2019. They have a great core. They've got good core players. They bring in good new additions. They should be great. It doesn't work. You have to make good new, you have to make serious improvements year on year to be able to keep up with the pace that the league improves. You can't just keep like a decent core and make some decent improvements. You have to take risks in order to stay at the top. That's why I think that they take about Toronto as well.
But I mean, I don't think there's a single other APAC team that's even close. That's really like, what other APAC team besides Chengdu has made any drastic changes? Like Fusion's missing half.
Spark.
New York has, but we don't have any basis to rate New York. Like we can look at them as rookies, but like we can look at them as rookies, and we can look at that they're talented rookie players. But at the end of the day, New York wasn't that good last year with their current. They were okay. And now they've added a bunch of rookie players. We don't know how they're going to perform. So why would we expect an unproven roster that does have very good talent to somehow perform better than the team that was consistently challenging for the top 2 spot and has kept that core and had a very solid coaching structure behind it? Why would we expect that team to? Okay, well, okay. Yeah, sure. That's fair.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't even say New York, though, but I think Chengdu have made massive improvements, Spark have made massive improvements, Seoul have made impressive improvements, and they were already ahead of Guangzhou. I think they were
ahead of Guangzhou for one singular stage because the meta shifted, and they could put Gesture on not main tank.
No, they were ahead of them in the first stage as well. They made the finals of the May Melee right at the beginning.
Oh, okay, I guess that's true. The first stage as well. That's fair. They were ahead of the first stage. Okay,
yeah, I mean, well, the first 2 stages, actually. For the first half of the season, they were ahead of Guangzhou. Because the May Melee was halfway through the season. We didn't have a tournament for the first quarter of the year. There was no tournament at the first quarter of the year. Seoul was still playing in like the beginning games. They were playing against the LA teams, stuff like that.
Honestly, I'm too lazy to look that up. But you know what? That sounds nice.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're all going to mold ourselves fucking bald in a second. So let's go through the talent lineup, because we were going to talk about it last week, but the Overwatch League has announced the new people who are going to be bringing you their silky smooth voices and, talking about this shit that pisses us all off live. They're going to be talking about whether or not people are better than teams are better than other teams live on the broadcast. And who is it again? Who are my colleagues?
The Overwatch League did actually tweet it out. I gave Kurt an old link from one of Matt Mercell's tweets because it actually had the lineup. But Overwatch League did tweet out.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, barely.
I don't think it's Bren. It's Bean. It's Bean.
Bean is back.
Yeah,
right.
Bean is back.
Yeah. Am I still casting?
Leg and Bean.
Oh, there it is. There it is.
Oh, Bren's casting with Jaws, and I'm casting with Vicky Kitty. That's cool.
Yeah, I will say this graphic was slightly confusing for someone that doesn't know what's happening. Like, you could be like, who are they casting? Oh,
yeah.
John would be like, I didn't know Sideshows with Vicky. Like, that's crazy.
They used reinforcing a dunce cap.
That's a great pick.
That's amazing.
People will say that they did me dirty, but it was actually me who submitted that picture. When people asked me for a photo, I just sent in that one.
Nice.
So. Don't blame Overwatch League.
I love having Danny back. I think Vicky
Danny's
and Avril will be like awesome additions as well. And then it's cool to see Doa back. I think Doa and ZP late night is going to be a journey, and I'm all about it. I'm all for it.
Well, it's going to be like, realize they're both Midwesterners, and they're going to talk about football a lot.
They're going to talk about Packers, be like people having cheese on their heads, stuff like that.
It's going to be like one of those radio stations you turn on. They're taking calls about aliens and UFOs and stuff. But it's going to be like with Overwatch in the background.
Yeah. No, I think it's a good squad that we've assembled this year. People are kind of confused about the roles though as well, because I think ZP and Jaws are swapping roles from play-by-play to color, right? So people didn't really understand. I saw a lot of people on Reddit being like, "Yeah, Doa must be coming back to be a color commentator." Like, I don't think that's happening, chat. I don't think
somebody said that I was a play-by-play and Mitch was the color commentator.
Yeah, I remember that, dude. I love how Reddit confidently asserts like the caster roles every time, and they get it wrong every time. Every single time, people confidently assert what the caster roles are, and they're always wrong. And then they're like busy bagging on them. It's like, he is the worst color. I hate when Uber does his color cast, and Matt's just talking over him the whole time. It's just Matt on the mic the whole time talking. It's like, well,
could you imagine if like color casters were as loud as like Mitch, like just screaming the analysis like at the top of their lungs? Like it would just be the most ridiculous broadcast. Like it would just be insane.
Funny. I might try that next time we cast. Have they released who's going to be casting which games for this first week? Because I had a bunch of people in my stream asking me, but I didn't respond because I didn't know whether it was something.
I don't think so.
Are we allowed to just tell people which games we're casting and stuff? I don't see why not. Right?
He's a spokesperson.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
that doesn't sound good. I mean, considering Plat Chat's troubled history with Overwatch news, I don't know if this is the. I don't know if
I will be on the desk. I can say that.
He'll be on the desk. Weekend. I'll be there this weekend.
Yeah. Tune in.
Fucking excellent. Yeah, wonderful. Well done,
Josh
Matt.
will also be there.
Exactly
Leaks.
Yeah.
All right. Well, cool. I hope that tickled the itch. This is the big news of the week, though. This is the meaty, juicy topic of the week. Actually, I suppose there's another one too coming up. But this is the news that the Philadelphia Fusion has signed Hotba and Tobi. Now they haven't. I reached out last week to the Philadelphia Fusion's GM, and I was told that they didn't have anything that they were willing to share publicly at that time because it was too close to them making this announcement. And he said, "Oh, we'll reach out next week." I reached out just before this episode. I mean, to be honest, I left it way too late for any reasonable person to get back to me. But I did reach out again, and I didn't receive another comment. Am I wrong in saying that it's been a little opaque in terms of what the Philadelphia Fusion, what the status of Poco, Shockwave, Funny Astro, and EQO is at the moment? Like, I think there's a lot of speculation, but I don't think they've announced that they can't play, or there's an ETA, or there was visa issues, or whatever. I think that's just speculation.
They said that they're working hard on trying to get them to Korea.
But there's no timeline, and there's no update. Like, yes, you were correct, Josh. No one really knows, other than that they've had to sign some players because they're not going to be there. More than likely, they're not going to be there.
Because this is not. But we're assuming that they're not playing for the opening of the season. But I mean, even that might not be true, right? Like, in theory, they might be like scrambling last minute and they don't know whether they're going to get there. But I assume
or they
can
try it and see if it's not going well, sub in players. Yeah, I mean,
I fucking love Tobi.
It's nice to have the assurance that like, hey, they actually have like a main support and an off.
So like, what would their roster be right now? Then you would see probably like if you ruled out those players, you'd have Mono, Hotba, Carpe, Rascal.
Tobi
and Tobi.
Yeah, it's not a bad roster.
Not a bad roster.
Not a bad roster. But it's definitely a downgrade. It's a definite downgrade for sure. Like it's
a massive downgrade. Yeah. I don't want to. I'm not shitting on Tobi and Hotba here because they are decent players, but we're talking about a team that's in John Spector's tournament arc winners or whatever it was, tournament winner arc or whatever. This team is. I think they had the best regular season record last year, didn't they? The Philadelphia Fusion. I think
but they absolutely beat down upon these NA teams for a large portion of the year. Did, So
at least they were consistent.
But Tobi's good, but Funny Astro is elite.
Amazing. Also, I feel like the big thing is honestly not Tobi, because I actually do think Tobi's definitely a downgrade for a lot of positions, especially like obviously Lucio and Mercy comparatively to Astro. But Hotba, the Poco, is pretty big too.
Yeah,
that's like because Hotba really
that's a big downgrade.
Yeah, I think that's pretty big.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah,
for sure. I think Hotba is not. I think Hotba is like a solid mid-tier off tank, but he's like very flexible. But
I rate
Poco's like a really good.
I rate Hotba as I do Michelle, and that's going to annoy Avast.
That does annoy the fuck out of me. I think Michelle's amazing. So I think
Michelle's way better than Hotba.
I think you rating Hotba as Michelle is wrong. So wrong that that's so wrong.
If Toronto called up Philly and was like, "Hey, you want Michelle for Hotba?" Philly would be like, "Yeah, fucking, are you guys high? Like, what the fuck?"
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah,
I don't know.
no.
I think that Philly was specifically looking for Hotba here because he's already played with the team before.
Well, yeah, he's already played with Mano.
I mean,
he played
he
with
didn't play
Mano.
well
I mean,
with Mano though, did he?
No, I know that's the problem. Like the saving grace is like, oh well, he's played with Mano. They understand each other, but they didn't play good together.
Okay.
Though. Like,
okay, yeah. But it was New York Excelsior. Okay, I'm willing to give them that one. I'm willing to not just blame Mano and Hotba for like they were in a system and in a team that like lacked an identity and had a bit of a rough year. So
this is now
I think it's going to be easier
system.
with the likes of Alarm and Carpe.
Yeah. I don't. So I already thought that Philly had some real tasks on their hand this season. I didn't think it was a slam dunk case for them integrating Mano into this team and like working through Carpe. Again, there's some tough coaching decisions to be made here. I'm not saying that 9K is incapable of making them, but I think there's some serious like stuff that needs to be done with this roster. The fact that you can't settle your identity at the beginning of the year and you have to wait until the visas get resolved to even begin integrating Mano into a system properly, and Mano and Hotba are going to bring over that. You can't help if you've played with somebody before and you know their tendencies from that previous system. I don't think you can help but play somewhat similarly to how you did previously. Like, you're just going to fall into the same habits because you're with a partner that you previously were with. I think this is going to hurt them even for the long term. Like,
if this team like stays afloat and looks good before all those other players get there, you'd have to assume that like whether it's Carpe or Alarm finds themselves in like MVP race talk, because like that's how much of like a performance you would need to see, I feel like, to keep this team like in the hunt.
I mean, I feel like Alarm's always going to be in the contention for like an MVP is the thing.
Do you want a hot take?
Yep. Yeah. Always.
All right. Philadelphia Fusion's first 4 matchups this season: Seoul Dynasty, Los Angeles Valiant, Hangzhou Spark, Chengdu Hunters. Okay. What if this is a big brain move? Okay, to start a honeymoon phase right before the season.
That is the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
You can't trigger that. You can't just trigger a honeymoon phase. It's not something you can just turn on and off.
What in the fuck kind of take is that? Like, let's pick up some guys and just change the vibe, like before the season.
Finally, they're playing. They're practicing with people on ping. The spirit of the team is like, finally, we can practice efficiently. We can get into this. Hotba's back in the group. People love Tobi. People like rally around this fact. Yep, I think they're going to go 3-1
is going to be
in
high
stage 1
after they can't play 2 of their main players due to visa.
The players they pounded with all last year,
and they had to get 2 dudes off the fucking street.
Do you think they care? Do you think
they care? And also Tobi and Hotba, they're probably on like 2 weeks.
No, they're so happy to finally have an actual like proper like scrim condition, because for months now on end they've just been practicing with people on high ping. It's been a mess. It's been, I'm just speculating here, but I can imagine people are agitated having to play with 150 ping, and finally they can practice in peace. People have low ping. They're bringing in some cool people, like they're good at the game. I think they're gonna go 3-1 in stage 1. That's my hot take. Hot take.
Fuck out of here. If they thought Hotba and Tobi were good, they would have signed them 30 days ago, not 24 hours before the matches begin. I mean, come on.
Because that's one of the.
Why do you expect they're going to be happy and not pissed off that they've wasted their whole off season and shown up with random guys? Like, it's like you've just like that. Why do you think that's something going to be the catalyst?
There has to be some
make
relief.
The team amazing.
No, there has to be some relief as a player.
I don't think there is. I think it's sort of like when you're. It's sort of like
so
when you
actually think that these players go into the practice room and are like, oh, these sons of bitches. We don't have Funny Astro here. We don't have Poco here. I can't believe I'm practicing with these guys. I can't believe it.
Well, they're not going to be blaming Tobi and Hotba, but they're going to be pissed that Funny Astro and Poco aren't there. And that's the real issue, and that they've wasted their whole offseason of potential practice with players they can't play with.
I
with
think
new players.
Johnny, who is the best
around these
Johnny,
two signings?
Hold on, Johnny, who is the best off tank you ever played with?
The best off tank I ever played with. No, I can't get it. I don't know about that, dude.
Who was the worst one you played with too?
Johnny, who was the worst piece of shit player you ever played with? Just name them out.
Let's say Johnny, the best off tank you ever played with.
The worst player I ever played with was Matt in the Caster to Master tournament. That was
probably
a terrible experience.
You probably played with me more than actual professional players. Spend more time on the desk.
At this point, I probably have been talent longer than I was playing.
Yeah.
So there you go.
How would you feel? if like the best off tank you ever played with, was on a little bit higher ping, and then the team came to you and said, hey, you know what, we're gonna try and get somebody on some lower ping.
Fun fact:
here's your homie over here.
The best off-tank player they ever played was Fury. So
yeah,
there you go.
They technically don't have access to Fury. So that is
all
true.
right. So let's say you found out, the week before that Fury was replaced by I don't know, Josh. How would you feel about that?
No, it's not.
Obviously,
it's quite equivalent. I don't think that's quite equivalent.
Are we out in the middle of a field trying to scare off crows? What the fuck is this straw man argument you're throwing out everywhere?
Yeah,
what the fuck is that?
I didn't want to throw another off tank under the bus if Johnny didn't want to throw them under the bus. So you were right there, so I picked you.
The example's in front of us. How would you feel if you went from Poco to Hotba? We're talking about this example. It's right here. It's right in front of us.
You would feel kind of bad.
There's no need for an analogy. I mean, they're just gonna, if you're trying to put any kind of system in place, if you're trying to get better as a team, but you always know that this isn't the team that you're going to be playing with long term. So the synergy you're developing with your partner and the strats you're going through and the developments you're making as a team are all temporary. That's going to be a weight on your shoulders.
And also you're expecting Tobi and Hotba to be like very happy when like pretty much they are just waiting to get released because they don't want them there. They're like...
They're getting paid to play a video game again. They're getting a salary. How much of a relief is that in COVID, especially?
It is a relief, but you have to understand. But more in terms of the longevity of the team, it's a relief, sure, for them short term as people. But as we think about the long term and the longevity of the squad, like who knows what happens with this team, and who knows how their morale factors into this too.
So wouldn't you be happy that you got a chance to prove yourself on Philadelphia Fusion again and rally around the fact that you got an opportunity
unless
to play
Tobi is the second coming of Christ on this team,
Which he is.
He's never replacing Astro. And guess what? I'm a huge Tobi simp. I'm one of the biggest Tobi simps around. I love Tobi. I think he's really great. I think he's underrated. But the reality is, Tobi is not going to take Astro's spot. And Hotba is certainly not going to take Poco's spot. And if it does, it's because at that point, that Poco is trapped in a cement block in France. And he cannot leave. And that's the only reason. So, like, we're looking at this from a completely wrong dynamic. Like, short term, sure, but long term.
What do you mean it doesn't matter, Johnny?
Well, no, I don't really think that they're going to like. I'm sorry. I think we're interpreting and speculating wrong about like how the players feel in the practice environment and how they feel about practice without Ezra and Poco.
Does that fundamentally change where we want to rank them? Kurt, can we go back to our original Plat Chat power rankings? Because I think that
Chengdu, move them up.
Shut up.
Okay.
We're ranking Philly.
Matter.
It's like the Mad Hatter got let into the room and he's just sipping on his tea, talking to a cat with a grin on its face. The Philadelphia Fusion, we ranked them based on them having access from the beginning of the season to their main roster, or at least for the majority of the year. If it's worst case scenario and they have to run Mano, Hotba, Rascal, Carpe, Tobi, Alarm, that 6-man roster for the whole year. And as far as I'm aware, they don't have any subs, right, that they could use that are Korean.
I don't think so.
So if they had to run that 6-man roster the whole year, worst case scenario, where would you put them? Because I assume they fall.
All right. So yeah, they would fall, but we gotta do some.
I'd put them
trickery here.
I no joke though. I'm on Matt's side. I'd put that below Chengdu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think you can make a realistic argument that Chengdu should be above Seoul.
I totally agree with that. So
yeah.
I'm actually totally agree with that.
But I don't know. No. But I don't agree with that. That's what I don't agree with. So I don't think they should go up that high, Chengdu. I think maybe Atlanta goes to 5 or Florida.
No. Stop moving everything around, Matthew.
Goes to 5.
Yeah,
Atlanta goes to 5. Do you want to put a 1 in front of that? No. There's no Atlanta. Stop moving Atlanta.
And then I think Seoul could probably drop to 9. And then Chengdu.
You need to stop.
Chengdu at 6.
You need to stop. All we're doing here is moving the Philadelphia Fusion. That's all we're doing. Get Mayhem back down there. I see you
Mayhem's
at 5.
fine where they're at. I like where Mayhem's
I see you
at.
at 5. Seriously though, where would you put Philly? Because we're talking about, let's think about things in terms of APAC right now. Would your expectations be higher for NYXL or the Philadelphia Fusion with that roster?
I think the Philadelphia Fusion would still be higher than New York.
Yeah, I think they're about equal. Yeah, I think they're about equal.
I think I would move. I think I would move. Well, I want to move Florida Mayhem up anyway, but I think I'd move down Philly to like above Dallas Fuel, and then put Florida Mayhem above them. That's what I do to these rankings.
Yeah,
What
I mean
the
that's
heck
completely
are
fair.
You talking about?
That's people hate on Mayhem so hard, man. They do.
Yep.
They're hating on the Mayhem
Put
so
Seoul
hard.
at 5, yeah.
This is nonsense.
We just said that Chengdu is better than Seoul.
I mean, Chengdu is.
Well,
better
you're
than
wrong.
Chengdu is definitely better than Seoul, in my opinion.
I don't. So
I think so.
anyway,
Matt and I are agreed on this issue.
the whole point of us returning to these power rankings was not so you guys could fiddle with the minutia. It was so that we could see where we would place this new version of Philly. And now they're still in 6th. That's not where we.
No, they have to be like 10th. 10th makes sense. Or you put New York in 10th and you put Philly in 11th.
It doesn't make sense, Matt.
Why doesn't it?
Why
doesn't it make sense?
I agree
No,
with Matt.
they should not be 10th. If anything, if they're going to be in, they need to be above 10 or at least at 10. But Rain needs to get the fuck out of there if you're going to put get Rain the fuck out of here, man. Like, I don't understand this. Like,
what's wrong with putting them 10th, Johnny?
Okay.
Because they're not that bad.
All right.
Okay, so who above them? If you put them 10th, swap them with Chengdu, who do you actually think they beat above them? Who do you think they actually beat? Who do they beat?
The people above them, they could beat Fuel.
Do you really think that, though? Do you really think that they're a better overall roster for the year
that they would be better than Fuel?
That roster of Tobi,
okay,
Tobi
I guess
Alarm,
that's
Mano,
not
Hotba.
totally fair. No,
I think
that's
I think it's a decent team.
Yeah.
And I think it might even
if it was a Tracer meta, they could beat Fuel.
Yeah, and I think there
if
are
it was a
definitely.
Tracer meta, they beat Fuel.
I mean, there are absolutely metas where they could beat Fuel. No doubt whatsoever. But I think
I've grasped my senses. I kind of agree. Nothing is. Well, I kind of agree. Okay, I'm not saying that you're right. Okay, but I think we can be reasonable about this and not.
I'm okay with that ranking right here. Honestly,
I think they might take a. I'm not trying to argue that we should do this, but my personal thoughts is that it'll actually be a much larger dip, just based on the intangible factors of they know that it's not their real roster. They haven't been scrimming with this roster presumably, and haven't put any like foundation together. They're going to struggle to actually create an identity for their team for the long term because they're going to be stuck in this like quagmire of not wanting to change their style to be based around Mano and
a very good idea
and Tobi. I think it's going to hurt them a lot at the beginning, but I don't think it's.
I have a good idea.
Devastating.
Don't know
what if we added a 21st spot? We put Philly on here twice.
We're moving on
with new Philly and old.
And we're not allowed to revisit Defiant on that ranking, right?
We're moving on. We're moving on.
Okay,
we're moving on. Boston news, big news, sad news. Actually, seriously, really sad news in my opinion. That Boston has had to let go of Soon, and I use the wording "had to let go of Soon" because he wasn't able to secure a visa in time for the games. And apparently, if you don't have a visa, you work in the US, you can't play in games from outside of the US. So Soon can't just sit in his house in France and play games for them in the Overwatch League. And Soon released a Twitlonger in both English and French where he was talking about this, and he seemed like he took it. I mean, he's a professional, right? He understands how the scene works. He's been around in esports forever. And he's just a legend of Overwatch, honestly. He's like one of the candidates for the it's going to sound stupid when I say this because I'm going to say like greatest of all time, but what I mean by that is that if you include 2016 weighted as evenly, like you have to have performed over the course of the entirety of Overwatch history, he's one of the best candidates for like was good at every stage throughout the game's history. He wouldn't really be like a GOAT candidate for Overwatch League or anything like that. He wouldn't even be close, but he's a long-standing legend of the scene.
He's just like a legend of the scene. Yeah, I was just going to say. Which, I mean, this sucks, right? Because it's not like in any, like nobody can really kind of control this, right? It's like you feel bad when like there is one side who can like decide and like something like this happens and a player gets released or retired. But the fact that this just seems to be like neither side really wanted this to happen, but
Yeah.
it just kind of did. Is like that's kind of what makes it worse.
It seems like
Yeah.
most organizations were just using COVID as an excuse, and it just got overplayed. Whereas this is actually a situation where they tried. Like, the efforts were seriously made on both sides, and it just didn't work out. It couldn't logistically be done properly.
Yeah, so Hawk did actually have a Q&A on, I think it was Boston Uprising's YouTube channel, because he went live and like talked about some of this stuff, because the community reaction immediately were like, fuck Boston Uprising. It was like so absurd, because like it's a big shame that this didn't go through, but the people like started like blaming either the organization or started blaming Overwatch League for like quote unquote making this happen. I mean, it's so ridiculous, and like people are so emotionally like reactive to news these days without actually like wondering why something happened or like trying to find an answer to begin with. It was just very frustrating. So Hawk went live with this Q&A and just addressed it and was like, hey, like we did everything. We paid him while we're trying to get the visa. Like they did the whole thing with like recommendation letter from different people. Like I think he even said it soon had the interview at like an embassy to get the actual visa. But like for whatever reason, it didn't work out. And I think he mentioned as well that like they couldn't keep him on because they couldn't pay him because like he couldn't be an employee in the States or something like that. So there's this big thing, and like it just didn't work out. And like obviously soon were a big part of Boston Uprising's plans for 2021, and Hawk wishes as soon was on the roster, but like it just didn't happen. And immediately people just like jumped to like, well, fuck the Boston Uprising for not being Philadelphia Fusion. And it's like, it's, I don't think that's reasonable at all. So it's just very unfortunate that it didn't work out and that he couldn't get the visa. But I don't think that it's anyone's fault, because people actually tried to make this happen.
And I mean, I think it's a little bit of a different scenario between Boston and Philly, because I mean, Philly is like, they don't have a lot of their players, right? Like, I mean, that is a lot of their core team that is like not able to get there. Like if you're Boston, like you have your entire team pretty much there except for Soon, right? So it's like, it becomes difficult. Like, well, how do you kind of justify like playing him, right? If you even can, if he's in Europe and, I'm 37 is sat there in Boston with the team in the room, it becomes difficult to kind of like figure out how you even play that player, which I just hope this isn't the end for Soon, like with Overwatch. I think he's like just like you just said, Josh, just like a legend of the scene, just a really good ambassador of the game. I think we're all kind of waiting for, everything to be somewhat back to normal so we can get back to like events and live and whatnot. And I think, I personally would really like to see Soon play again. I'm sure the fans would too.
Yeah, and he has so much career too, because he's not just a legend like we say about other legends. We're like, this guy was a legend, but he's not really that good anymore. Soon still has a lot of career left, honestly.
Yeah.
He's really talented. Like, he was still very, very good last year when he played. He was probably going to continue to be pretty solid moving forward, like a player that can be a part of a winning team, a team that can win games against good teams. He's just a very talented player, and it's just completely out of his control. And I'm with Johnny in that people reacted poorly, being like, oh, it's Boston's fault or the league's fault. No, granted, Boston did sort of cultivate that relationship initially, but they've been working to fix that. But sure, it wasn't their fault at all. But I do say it brought up a lot of questions. The thing I reacted negatively to is, I hope it is good that they paid him while he wasn't in the States, obviously, but I feel like it needs to revisit the new contract terms that we have for players in the league, because if he was released under the boilerplate standard, he got 30 days of severance, right? And that's the new boilerplate minimum. Obviously, every player is able to negotiate their contract terms to different things, but the reality is players for the most part don't have any leverage right now. They don't really have a lot of leverage unless you're a huge superstar or you have a big stream. Your average player not going to have any leverage to get a better contract unless they're like highly sought after. And 30 days of pay is especially when it's nothing you could have done about it, it's just completely out of control. All the risk of signing a contract for a long off season goes onto players now. There is no risk for an org because you can just let him go, easy peasy. And granted, that the old rules were way too burdensome for teams. It's why we had disasters for old rosters, because teams were forced to pay out these players in full, which was ridiculous. That's a huge financial burden for those teams to have to do, especially when some of the contracts are so inflated. But 30 days, especially when it's through no fault of a player's own, puts all the risk onto the player in that situation. And I don't think that is currently a good minimum standard to have for player contract. I mean, in my opinion.
Also, what you're saying is reasonable, but also I think it misses another point as well, is that most contracts, I don't know whether Soon's was specifically set up like this, but most contracts will have a clause saying that you are entitled to that 30 days if you're terminated without cause. If you're unable to get a visa, which and good effort is made to acquire you a visa, that counts as cause. So in most cases, I'm not even sure whether you would be entitled to further pay. I think most orgs do that genuinely to support the player moving forwards, like as a goodwill kind of thing. But I don't think that's even contractually obligated in a lot of situations. And I'm not
Which is
sure
also bad in my opinion.
Do you think so? Because I don't know whether that should be. Like, for example, if it's the player's fault that they're not able to acquire a visa, like they have, I don't know, a crime that they didn't tell you about that they committed in their country or something. I'm not saying that this is the situation with Soon, but can you imagine a situation in which a player is unable to do a contract because their documentation isn't correct, or they have something in their legal history or whatever? The org shouldn't be on the hook for that. And so as long as due process is followed and good effort is made to secure players a visa, I think at that point, it is fair to terminate the contract with.
I think it depends on the situation, like you said. If it's for a reason like they messed up or they have a legal issue that they like from some sort of crime or something, yeah, sure. But the reality is, especially for this past season, obviously I don't know the extent of Soon's release, right? They said they paid him while they were waiting for him. We don't know what he got when he left.
I think Huck addressed it in the Q&A, but I can't remember what he said. He just said that like. He said something about like Soon was just like, you know, very like cooperative and like they didn't want to do him wrong or anything. I don't know. I can't remember if he said that they did.
But the point being is that especially for this offseason, and if this offseason mimics any of the future off seasons, right, which there's no guarantee, players were signed to teams for a long time, and Soon was released right before the season started. That opportunity cost is massive. There is almost zero way Soon's going to find another team.
Yes.
It's just kind of guaranteed, right? And like if this had happened, let's say 2 months ago, something like that, maybe even more, I don't think there'd be any. I'd be like, okay, whatever. You can release him for cause, right? Because he has still so much time. But you release him this close, literally a week pretty much before the season starts. There's just no way you're going to find another team. There's just no way. And especially not for your further contract. Like even getting an extra like month, if let's say they just gave him for no cost, even just an extra month is not even close to the cost that he lost in a full year's contract. Not even close to that same amount, you know? And also the cost now of sitting out the sidelines and potentially your career being ruined because now you're going to be sitting out and not playing for a year, right? Sure. So to me, that situation is definitely a particular situation where I feel like this was the year, or maybe that sort of situation should be handled differently than just you can't get a visa because your paperwork was wrong or you did something criminal in your past.
I just assumed that they kind of kept going with the process because they thought there was a chance. They really wanted to have Soon. Like they kept it going, and you don't know what Soon's point of view is. Like he could have known that, like he could have known, like I don't really have any other offers. Like this is really it. Because right, he got let go from Paris. It seemed like he wasn't going to have anything.
But once again, still the risk is all with the player here, right? There is no risk to the org at all, essentially, because the burden is so low to release a player from contract that it's almost nothing.
I mean, right? The cost of the org is they had to probably pay thousands in legal fees and whatnot to try and get a visa and all of this for somebody now that they can't use. I mean,
I'm sure that's
the point is,
yeah.
They can just like find another player now. Hopefully, it's difficult, especially in COVID. It's hard to like find players to like, especially travel to America and stuff. But like they can hopefully fill Soon's void now relatively easily, or picks up someone else with that budget.
If you made a system which was massively beneficial to players, like for example, you tweak it so that you can't get released for visa issues, and it just if you have a situation like soon, you have to pay them out for the full year. Like it would have been in, I don't know.
Oh, but that's ridiculous. I'm not arguing for that. That's a ridiculous burden. I'm simply saying if it's this close, they should get a couple months extra.
Sure.
That's it.
Sure.
Like that, literally my thing is if you are released this close to a deadline for a reason that you can't control, then there should be a cushion.
If you make the cushion too large, though, you're going to incentivize organizations in difficult off seasons like this one to only pick up NA players. They would never even bother trying to apply to bring in anybody.
I just think it should be minimum of like 2 to 3 months, not like anywhere more than that.
I think there's some
a couple months, like essentially severance or getting severance for not being able to make it there. And like severance is still not going to be nearly the same equivalent to paying out a full year of salary or like, and also the opportunity cost of not being able to find another team to compete for a year. It's just more equitable and something that's specific to this situation, not all of these situations.
Sure.
I want to see Paris pick him back up. That'd be cool.
Yeah. I mean, it actually would. If either Paris or London are interested in bolstering their roster towards the very end of the season, if Valiant hadn't fallen to pieces, then soon would have been a lock to pick up for London, I think, until Sparker became of age. It's just kind of unfortunate that Jax was then available and Jax came in to...
And also, that's another situation where the contract rules were definitely not favorable, were way too burdensome on the players because Valiant were able to release that whole roster, probably giving them all like 30 days pay, Some I know probably got a little bit more because I remember I talked to others, but still, a lot of those players were not given very much and they were released right before the season started, So that's a situation here where still, once again, where that's a problem that exists currently with player contracts. Obviously, you don't want to be a full year or even I even think 6 months potentially is way too burdensome. But like 3 months, 2 to 3 months, I think that's a perfectly fair amount.
Yeah. 2 months sounds good, yeah.
I think the focus of my thoughts, though, are that soon is going to be a loss to the league. And on a similarly sad note as well, we're getting to there's serious topics now as well. There was the clip of the Dallas Fuel players, of Fearless in particular, was the clip on stream where he was talking about people being just incredibly overtly racist to him just while he was walking down the street in Dallas, and he described it as happening almost every day, which
unreal.
Yeah, it's mind blowing to hear the quantity of it, and the nature of it as well. Especially when you're somebody that never experiences it, I'm just a white guy living inside my house in the middle of Austin, so never experienced stuff like that. You know it's going on, but you don't. I think you need moments like that to realize the quantity and the extent of it as well. It sounds. I mean, it's just disgusting, isn't it? It's horrific.
Yeah.
It's just terrible.
And it's definitely something that's not unique to Fearless either, because since a lot of these orgs have a lot of Korean players, there's been stories of these Korean players facing harassment in the States, over and it is. I mean, there's no other way to say it but shitty and unacceptable, and it's just sad that that's the. And we've even had some fans, when we've had teams replace Western players with Korean players, react pretty toxically and even some would say racist when they have those new players come in. So it's really disappointing, especially someone that's lived in Texas my whole life. It's disappointing, but at the same time, not surprising. I have to say.
I mean, yeah, it happens outside of Texas though as well. It's like Sire Play was talking about it back in 2018 in LA.
Yeah.
To them. I mean, the intensity seems like it's definitely gone up, and it's been exacerbated by the current media state within the US as well. Kind of the hysteria that's been built around COVID being some China's responsibility, and then just racist people tell different Asian people apart, so they just start harassing everybody. They're fucking idiots. So yeah, I mean, just horrific situation.
Yeah, it was a very it was very graphically described as well in the video for people to really just understand how fucking awful the racism truly is as well, because sometimes it feels like people are a bit flippant about it, but just imagine being in the shoes of one of these players and just being told some of this shit and just the actions against them. It's truly horrifying. So I'm actually quite glad that the clip blew up to the extent it did, because it like spread massively on social media as well, and like even outside of esports, and like for people to become aware of this shit, especially now once, you know, like, yeah, I'm just very happy that people are finally realizing how shitty it is for Asians in the United States as well. I mean, this was an ongoing subject even before this clip as well, and not pertaining to esports players as well. That, you know, I think I saw a clip as well of like an Asian who was like former US military and just like faced harassment like on a daily basis, and like he testified, I think, in front of some state court or something, just like showing like his battle scars from war, from fighting for the US military, and just still facing like racism for being Asian. It was like truly horrifying. So just continue spreading the message, like, to stop Asian hate, because it's truly disgusting, and something that, you know, should be dealt with socially, especially like if you see someone, like, I know we have a lot of young listeners as well, like if you're at a school and like someone seems to be a bit racist or like say something racist, like you can't let that go like unnoticed, you know, because it's truly fucked up, and you can't allow that kind of behavior to go unnoticed like that. So there's a very powerful campaign.
There's like an important concept for anybody that hasn't been introduced to it, which, I mean, with the political climate in the last year, I don't know how you wouldn't have, but I know that we have young viewers, called anti-racism, where it's like, it's not good enough to just be silently like colorblind, you know, and just go through life just like, oh yeah, everybody's the same, etc., etc. You have to actively fight against the racist instances when they crop their head up. Otherwise, it just flourishes. Me and Bren did a.
I was going to say, you guys just did a charity stream, right?
Yeah, we just did a charity stream, like past tense. It's ongoing because we decided to speed run a randomized version of a Pokemon game that we massively misunderstood how long it was going to take. So we're now 30 hours into doing the stream, and we're only halfway.
It's not very fast. That's not a very fast speed run.
That is the slowest speed run ever.
Yeah, so we're looking at somewhere between 50 and 60 hours, and the Overwatch League is coming up, and I don't have enough time to complete it. But on the positive side, we raised $10,000 for a charity campaign called Stop AAPI Hate. So that's pretty good. And we will continue to be doing those streams coming up. So if you're interested in donating to a cause, then you can take a look at that, or you can just do your own research, which you absolutely should do.
You should do that anyway.
Yeah. Fucked up situation though. The world is fucked. I mean, the last year, our last rotation around the sun has highlighted some really fucking dreadful things about humanity, but onwards and upwards. Hastro also had a statement about it as well. That's in the notes, but I didn't watch this actually, so I don't know much about it at all.
I mean, it's just talking about how, you know, this is just Dallas is, you know, is inherently, Texas is actually the second most diverse state in the United States. And it's kind of crazy that these sort of things would be happening in a place like Texas. But the reality is diversity of a place doesn't change people's racist attitudes. I mean, California is the most diverse state in the country, and there's still racism there, right? So like, it's something that he was just talking about, that, you know, it's not right. We shouldn't have it in the city. We shouldn't have it in the city. And, you know, he has also offered up a lot of resources to the Dallas Fuel players to help them get through to these toxic situations and increase security and stuff.
I didn't watch the video, but I did see some of the tweets afterwards, and there was some fucking disgusting people in the comments actually blaming the Dallas Fuel for this. And like,
I don't know.
The community sentiment around this was fucking batshit insane, actually.
It's just because people, legitimately, people just love to hate on organizations and particularly the Fuel at times.
Yeah, like corporate entities. They're like, oh, well, it was your fault for not creating a safe environment for them. Like, motherfucker, they're walking to the shops when this is happening. Like, Hastro's asking Hastro's offering to like walk with them as an escort and stuff.
Yeah, and I was going to say,
some things are bad in the world, and you can't fucking, I don't know. You can't protect everybody from them. It has to change at a social level.
And blaming like the Dallas Fuel team is just like ridiculous. And I mean, I've known Stro now from Call of Duty for, I mean, feels like forever, probably almost 10 years now. and he will go to the ends of the earth to protect these players. I mean, that's just kind of the guy that Stro is. Where he will literally do everything in his power to try and fix this, make this better for them, give them a safer space.
Yeah, it is ridiculous how players hate on, because legitimately few organizations in the Overwatch League have maintained the standard of care towards players that the Fuel have. You know, it's just a fact. It's an objective fact. Even if their teams have been poo at times, the reality is that organization under the guidance of Stro and Tasmo and stuff have put so many resources into their players and protecting them, making sure they get the care and the support that they need. Very few orgs have done nearly as much as the Fuel have. And to criticize them of like not, I don't even know what the solution there. Like you want like a full Secret Service presidential team with the players at all times is ridiculous, because it's
they
just
almost have, right? Because
they said they've increased. They did say they've increased security with all the players. Yeah. But that's like still at the end of the day, like the criticize Fuel for the fact is just insane.
I mean that's even part of the Dallas Fuel joke, isn't it? Because like they're such a tight family and care so much about the players that they kept them around for too long in the Overwatch League. They just like kept giving them money. Where like this is not helping you competitively to keep some of these people around. So yeah, I mean Astro and Envy, I mean their brand more than most esports orgs is definitely just like that of a family taking care of each other and building like a positive atmosphere within the team, especially. Yeah, so if you're blaming the org, like I don't know what you're doing. Like just stop tweeting for a little bit, okay?
Yeah, I know.
Don't be so reactionary. Pump the brakes, okay? We need to take a step back sometimes and think about this stuff. So yeah, terrible situation. But Dallas Fuel, you know, they're stepping up and helping their players. So don't blame the org, if anything.
And they recently promoted Dia, right, to the assistant GM position, who was, I think originally, like her first job was as a translator for the team.
She's been a translator for the team for a long time. So.
Right. And then she's developed into an assistant GM position for them as well, which again is like another step to helping, I guess like bridge the gap between the organization and the Korean team that they currently have on their roster. So it all, I mean, Dallas seem like they're trying to put the right things in place. It's just a fucked up world out there. We have, so yeah, I mean, if you're interested in trying to help out on that issue, obviously these kind of things are very difficult to solve. You can't just throw money at the issues, but I would encourage you to go and look up various different like campaigns and charities that are looking at this kind of problem and generally raising awareness of it, and specifically trying to help in situations where you notice it being a problem around you in day-to-day life if you see it occurring.
Before we close this one, I just like to say as well that, you know, people who listen to this or watch this video as well, you know, they're probably a bit younger, you know, for like people who are like teenagers and stuff like that, you know, like I grew up in, you know, middle of, you know, fucking nowhere in Sweden, okay? I grew up where people had like a pretty fucked up view on race and like other races, and like threw out some horrible slurs on like a regular basis, and that was like okay, and that was like the standard that I sort of like grew up in, right? And at some point you have to realize that as well, or like, you know, take a look at that kind of like childhood and like where you're being brought up in, and analyze like, is this environment perfect? Like, or is my community wrong somewhere in like how things are socially acceptable, etc. So just because like people behave one kind of way and something is right in your community or like wherever you live, you know, like people can be wrong as well, and you can move past that and actually like update your moral standards and stand up for what you think is right and what you think people are wrong about in your community. So just keep that in mind, that, you know, just because people do one thing in your childhood and where you grew up doesn't mean that it's okay and it's acceptable in the global world. So, you know, just, you know, take an open mind to some of this stuff if you live in one of those places that I used to, and then you know, get away from and realized how messed up it really was. So, you know, we can change.
Yep. Let's move on to the most important thing that's going to be a recurring segment for the season. We couldn't do any of these in the off-season because there was a drought, a wasteland lying before us on all sides. But now, as we approach the season, we can finally do predictions and pick'ems.
I thought you were about to say we can. I was so confused. I was like, I thought you were about to say we can finally do Bren's Player of the Week. I was like, we've been doing that all off season. I was like, what the fuck is he talking about?
No, mate,
I forgot about predictions. Yeah,
this is the meat of the episode right here, and we're 3 hours in.
This is the meat.
This
is the meat of the episode. Oh my god!
No,
I put Chengdu everywhere from 4th to 12th this episode.
I know that Kurt has been hard at work behind the scenes to create some graphics and stuff for this. I don't know what the flow of this is going to look like, but I'm going to react to shit that's on my screen.
You're a worse host than Bren.
So to contextualize this, you should talk about the pick'ems.
Good point. Matt, tell us about the pick'ems. You work for the Overwatch League.
Yeah, Plat chat. We're going to do a Plat chat pick'em. So Kurt's going to bring it up, and then we can talk about it. But yeah, if you go to the Overwatch League site, you can.
I think it's pick'em.overwatchleague.com.
Yeah, and then you can go there, pick all the matches. Obviously, you have to pick the maps. You get points. It's really fun. We did it on
how do you
Call
know
of
it's
Duty.
fun? We haven't done it yet.
I did
So
it
these
on
are
Call of
my
Duty. Call of
picks.
Duty had this. Kurt, you made picks you don't even fucking watch.
Wait until you see I win every single week, Matt.
Okay. All right. Okay.
I
So
don't know.
those are mine.
The Overwatch
Kurt's
League is making
predictions
them
on the show.
too.
Wow.
I'm glad they're
Predicting
yeah,
a
the
3-0
maps
sweep
is
in the
cool,
Battle of
yeah.
Texas.
Yep.
Okay.
Wow.
I like that. I
Okay.
like that. He's got the Florida Mayhem over the Atlanta Rain.
Yes,
that's a Avast boy right
That's
there.
an obvious pick.
That's a Avast
It
boy.
would actually be hilarious if Kurt got all of these right. Like if Kurt was just the mega mind after just taking in all of the information from us,
Passively
and just
absorbing
kind of
it.
Guangzhou
Yeah.
being sold. Whoa, that's a spicy one, Kurt.
No,
I
it's
could
not
see that
spicy.
happening.
That's
I
not
could see
that spicy.
that's a sleeper pick.
Yeah,
But
I don't
yeah,
think it's gonna happen, but it might.
Fill out your pick'ems.
Okay,
I believe.
I think all of us did though this
So-
week, didn't we?
So to
Yeah, but I think
contextualize
Johnny
this
made a-
segment here,
Yeah.
everybody here did their pick'ems. They sent them to me individually, and then we're going to react to 5 matches, the top 5 matches of the week, every single week.
Who picked the top 5 matches, huh? Is that
Johnny?
Jonathan?
Might have been me.
All right.
Okay.
What did you do? So the top 5 matches that we open with, I mean, we start with some absolute club bangers on the Friday, don't we?
Club bangers.
Yeah.
We
bangers.
did.
Yeah, like the ones where the
There was a
bass line
meme.
hits your
Oh,
bones
God.
and you just
Let's
have
just-
to
Oh
bop.
no, I had to find the meme.
Let's just do the order that Johnny gave me.
Yeah,
that's
the order.
This is correct. The order that he's
Okay.
given them is
Sure.
the matches that we begin with on Friday as well. We open with the Battle for Texas. And this one is
Yes.
already contentious because most people coming into the season, like when the Dallas roster was announced and everything, they would have been like, Dallas, slam dunk, they're winning. They've taken all of the Texas fans. It's all good. And now as we get closer and closer to the season, people are becoming more and more scared. And a little bit of the Scrimbucks are coming out and Crimso's
God.
tweeting. And people are wondering, what the fuck's going to happen? Huh? What did we all go with?
Yo, that was sick. Oh.
Everyone picked Houston except me?
Did I pick Houston?
Every single one of you picked Houston?
Wait a
Josh
second.
doesn't know his own pick?
I picked Dallas, I think.
Okay.
No. That's a bunch of bullshit.
Okay.
Did I, Kurt? Okay.
Kurt,
Did I?
what was the
Well,
maps he had, Kurt?
You picked Houston 3-2.
Wow, that was accidental. I meant to pick Dallas 3-2.
Oh,
but
of course you did.
Yeah,
Of course he did. Yeah,
Okay.
of course he did.
Well,
Okay.
Either way, I think I'm going to set it off by being the little fence sitter in the middle. I do actually think that this is going to be a 3-2 game, one way or the other. The beginning games of the season are always clusterfucks. Like the beginning of the season has the most ridiculous games. Like the first day always has mental games because people haven't like exactly figured out how the teams play and how they want to play and that kind of stuff. I think this is going to be a blockbuster, one for the ages.
Yep.
I had Outlaws 3-2. Yeah, I have this going game 5, I think, regardless. It just seems to be everything trending like down for Dallas, you know, with everything people think.
There's no trending, there's no data. You can't trend without data.
Yeah, you can. You can
Which
trend
data?
a bit. Yeah,
Which
you don't
data,
need
Matt?
you don't
Which
need data. You just need some vibes, you know, like the vibe was really high on them early, and then now it's kind of dipping, and you get these weird interviews and stuff. You know, I'm not all there right now.
That's not data, Matt. You're taking a spirit quest.
You don't need data. You don't need data.
You're getting an astral vibration to tell you that they're trending down.
I'm rubbing the rocks along my arms and giving me my predictions.
No, I mean, because based off Scrimbucks, yes, Houston should be slightly favored in this matchup, but I don't give a shit about Scrimbucks. Don't care. Don't give a shit about it. Realistically, on paper, based off everything, Dallas should win this match, and that's kind of all there is to it.
Do you think Dallas should win a rush match against Houston if the meta was rush? If the meta is strictly rush, as people seem to be putting out into the universe?
I think rush would still be, it's not their ideal meta, but it would still be a perfectly fine matchup for them, is my personal opinion on it. I think I don't think it's the best meta for them. That's why I think it can be, that's why I think it's going to be close, but I think theoretically they should be favored. So, but who knows? Because early season, don't know. Scrimbucks trending one way, don't give a shit about them.
Yeah.
But
nice. I picked Houston Outlaws 3-0.
3-0.
3-0. What? Okay. Where? Tell me. Show me. Empty your pockets. Empty out the Scrimbucks. Show me the pockets.
Bro, he's got ZP's pipe behind them. I mean,
that's Scrimbucks, but I have an eaten muffin right there. That was pretty good.
That's one of those ZP muffins. You know,
what's the poppy seed in that muffin? What was in that muffin?
Blueberry. Blueberry for
that's what the kids call it nowadays, huh? Blueberry.
Hey,
he's gonna wake up.
Hey, mate, can I get a bit of the blue?
A bit of the no, I just think that Piggy and Django are gonna pop off in this meta, and then you have Happy and Dante.
To be a 3-0.
How would Piggy over, but at least at the very least, even if you don't trust Fearless that much on Ryan, they still have Hanbin. That guy pounds. The Hanbin pounds so hard.
That's true. I don't think, look, okay, in terms of skill matchup, okay, between the two teams, and, you know, taking into account, like, some of the Scrimbucks and everything, yeah, this should be a 5-mapper, okay? The reason I predicted 3-0 is because I think Houston Outlaws has the edge if it's leaning towards Rush. And I think in Rush matchups, this is just pure speculation. I could be totally wrong about this. Captain Planet could kill me tomorrow. But I do think that in rush matchups in the metas, I think that it's more obvious who is the better team. And generally speaking, you win a higher percentage of the team fights if you are better in rush. So I'm going to go with the Houston Outlaws because I think they'll just dominate the matchup.
Okay.
So your reasoning for them getting 3-0 is because they're a better team and it's rush.
No.
And they'll win more maps. No, I mean, I can agree with that. I can actually sort of agree with that because it's sort of like GOATs. Like,
yeah, it's like
generally the team that's far more coherent will win more.
If you're a little bit better, you're going to be able to close out every map. It's just more.
I got a lot of 3-0s this weekend, which does not make sense.
Really?
I don't have that many 3-0s.
If the meta is rush, Juby is going to be playing Lucio, right?
Yeah. And also, Crimzo is going to be playing Bap or Ana versus Fielder, man. And Fielder.
Do you guys remember when we did that podcast about the Houston Outlaws picking up Jake? And I said that, you know, he might play 15% of the matches and you guys mauled it out of control? Well, here we are.
What are you trying to say?
I haven't said anything.
What?
You literally just said something.
You think Jake's going to play Lucio?
I just think that was a real entertaining episode, and I was the one who said it.
You're implying to me that Jake is going to play in this match, and that this is somehow going to tip the scales in favor of Houston?
No, I'm not saying that it will tip the scales, but I do think
you picked them 3-0.
Wait, are we in a mob hearing where you're saying, I do not recall on that day? What? Just tell us what you're thinking.
There were a lot of people on that day who were like, Jake is not going to play a single map of the season. He's going to be the assistant coach. That's strictly what he's going to do. And I stuck up for Jake. And I said, Jake will actually see some playtime for the Houston Outlaws.
Who in that episode said that he wasn't going to get played?
He did, I think. I said he shouldn't. I said he shouldn't because the reality is, if your coach comes in who's been essentially retired for 2 years and then kicks off one of the players that's been playing the entire time at the beginning of the season as a coach, that's not good. That's not a good thing. That's a morale killer, bro. And if they lose, that's even worse because if they lose, then they've essentially created a nuclear bomb of booming that's going to happen. Like, if that is like, and if they win, that's still not a good decision. In fact, that's a poor decision if Houston allows that to happen.
I have had people coming into my chat telling me that they are sure that Jake is going to be playing Lucio for this match.
No.
Oh my Christ.
I don't believe it, but I have seen many people coming into my chat saying,
I'm going to lose my mind. I'm going to lose my mind.
They say, Sideshow, I got a hot take. Jake's going to play Lucio. Jake hasn't even been playing Lucio in ranked, right? He doesn't play it in ranked even.
No,
he plays support in ranked.
He plays some support, but he said he wanted to learn all the roles because that was like part of him wanting to be more well-rounded, like as a coaching point of view. Coach, by the way, coach, not Lucio player. And before he was retired for 2 years, he was a DPS player. So like this is mine. In fact, that would be, I'm so pissed because now I can see it. Dallas is going to lose in the worst way possible to like a Jake Lucio, and then Houston's just going to shit the bed the entire rest of the year, but they're going to lose that first match, and they're going to carry that stain forever, and I'm going to have a brain hemorrhage. I'm going to sit there, I'm going to be dead in my chair. That's what's going to happen. Like, I just know.
That would be terrible.
After Avast dies after the first match of the Overwatch League season 2021, we do actually still have to continue with the rest of the season. So even with Avast dead, he's already predicted the next game on Friday, which is also another club banger. It's the LA Gladiators against the San Francisco Shock. That is, oh mama, that's a Clash of the Titans.
Oh, we're all shocked. I'm actually kind of surprised. I thought someone was going to pick Gladiators.
So that
I would not have been mad.
Why were you so convinced by the Scrimbucks and yet not by the Scrimbucks of the Gladiators?
Who?
Jonathan. Matthew.
What?
Oh, yeah, Jonathan. Tell us.
No, I mean, I'm
believe
also
the
probably
Scrimbucks
the
are
one on
very
this
high right now for the
podcast who
Gladiators.
is, I'm probably one of the people on this podcast who is, the least excited about Gladiators, which doesn't mean, No, but when we did that Power Rankings episode, I was the one who, I was like holding on to the hot air balloon, them going up the rankings, So I just think that, no matter how high the Screenbox are, San Francisco Shock, defending champions, they're absolute beasts. They have Super as a main tank. Like, what could go wrong? I think you can't just like go ahead and be a memer and just like, Gladiators gonna beat San Francisco Shock. I think, that could be true. There could be some, reason to the madness, but I think that personally, that's a bit too hot for me. I don't do hot takes.
That's hot at all.
You don't do hot takes. You just took the Outlaws 3-0 over the Dallas Fuel. Jake playing Lucio. And you're like, oh yeah, I don't make any hot takes. Like, what the fuck is that? I have this one being 5 games. I think this is another like really close series.
All of you put 5 games.
Yeah,
I mean, because this one makes sense to be 5 games, just like the last one. The last one, 3-0 is just ridiculous.
And also, I don't think it would have been crazy to have Gladiators win this at all. I don't think it's crazy at all. Shock always starts out pretty slow, and Gladiators look really good this year.
If there was a time for the Gladiators to beat them, it would be now.
I could even see this game. I could see a world in which this is one-sided to the Gladiators as well. If Shock are a little bit slow to get off the starting line, and they're still trying to figure out some of the synergies within their team. And you've got Moth, who is the Lucio player behind the best rush team that we've ever seen. Like, yeah, you can say that Moth's the best Lucio, or the Lucio behind it, but like Shock still have Super and Choyobin and like the rest of the core. But still, I think there's something
as well. So,
but there's something to be said, I think, for like the Lucio's driving factor behind the like tempo that you play at and the kind of macro goals that you bring towards a rush composition. So yeah, I could see the Gladiators winning this game. I wouldn't surprise me, but I think either way it's going to be mad entertaining.
And honestly, I mean, even if you lost this game for either team, like, you're probably still going to roll through the rest of the stage. I mean, you're still going to be in a great spot. It's not like you would be worried about either of these teams. I mean, I fully expect whoever loses this to win the next match of the weekend. It's just, this is pretty much just deciding if you go 1-1 or 2-0.
Sure. Are you ready to mold, Avast?
I am exceptionally ready to mold if this is the match I think it is.
The next
Atlanta.
match
is it Atlanta?
Atlanta Florida.
Oh, please, God, don't do me like this. Please tell me you are crazy. You are crazy. You are fucking crazy, dude. This is wild. This is fucking crazy.
Why?
You guys are out of your goddamn minds.
What's wrong with this pick? What were the maps that you guys had for this?
I can't remember.
What's wrong with this pick? What's wrong with this pick, says Matthew, Mr. X? What's wrong with this pick? There's so much wrong with this pick.
What did you have this series?
Everybody had 3-1.
Everybody had 3-1.
I could see Atlanta taking a map because it's early season. They're doing fine, but Mayhem is such a categorically better teamed, better coached, better base. Everything about this team, it's like
I could see Florida taking a map.
Bugatti. It just doesn't make any sense.
I could see Florida taking a map. Yeah.
I won't be engaging with Mr. X anymore on this topic. Let's move on. I won't be engaging.
It feels like, sometimes it feels like, we all live in the space of Overwatch, and we're reading Twitter, we're reading Reddit, and, like we're part of the community and everything. And then we go into this episode, and it's like Avast. It's like that squirrel in SpongeBob SquarePants that lives in the fucking bubble, and it's just like not part of the community. Do you know what I'm talking about?
First of all, that's Sandy Cheeks. And secondly, she's very much part of the community. She just lives in a bubble house. So that's, not only are you wrong about the character, you are doubly wrong about her place in the community.
That was just terrible. Yeah.
Terrain, because this is just misinformed. It's just misinformed across all. I feel like I'm taking crazy pills. I feel like I'm about to be taken away to a government facility because it feels like everyone has collective amnesia about Florida Mayhem and this roster. I just don't get it.
This is the year of Atlanta.
Caller. He was the backbone of their analytical approach.
Their tank line is Gator and Hawk. That doesn't make. I don't get it.
I think Florida are going to go backwards this year, and Atlanta are going to improve.
Yeah. I mean, sure, even Atlanta improves, but I don't think they're going to improve greater than Florida's current state.
I think they're going to end somewhere similar
this season. But this matchup, I think Atlanta will win.
Kurt, who did you take in this one?
Because of the, suggested meta, Scrimbucks. Okay, I did it because of Scrimbucks.
I took Florida.
I knew it.
All of the same picks as Avast for this week. Every single match.
Kurt, you're so smart. There's a reason that you're the central nervous system of this podcast.
Wait.
You couldn't breathe or see or eat.
Wait a second. If Kurt has all the same picks, that means that Avast also picked Atlanta over Toronto.
No. Did I? No, I definitely did not.
Has he betrayed his Atlanta downplaying?
Wait, let me check my picks. I don't think that's right, Kurt.
No. I meant no, he didn't. He picked.
No, I picked Toronto over Rain. Guys,
I'm
consistent.
I meant the ones that were showing on.
You mean of these five? Right. Okay.
What's the next match?
The next one it's an interesting one because it would have been a superstar game. It's the Philadelphia Fusion against the Seoul Dynasty. We're talking. This is a potential rematch from was it a rematch? I can't remember whether these teams even played in the Final Four in the playoffs last year. Did they play?
I mean, if they did, it would have not been good because Philly was really bad in the end.
I think it's just was it the first round knockouts? Didn't Seoul knock them out? Or did Seoul beat Who did Seoul play round one?
I can't remember the first round.
Philly lost to Shanghai twice, but that bracket doesn't even make sense.
That can't happen.
No.
Yeah,
Sears were so shite. I can't remember them. They were over so fast.
Whatever, it doesn't matter. We've all got Seoul here, and my idea is that this is heavily influenced by the fact that Philly don't have their main roster.
Yes, that's
would it surprise you though if Seoul did a Seoul Dynasty and just came in?
No, it wouldn't because this roster is broken.
And just beached around for 4 maps and lost to 3-1.
No, it actually would. I have faith for Seoul going forwards. I think that the major problem with them last season, was this obsession with running Marvel at off tank. And what that did to just cripple them all season because it forced Gesture to play fucking wind or rain. Wind or rain? Rain or shine. Wind or rain. The two major weather types, wind or rain. You never see one without the other. Fucking hell. Rain or shine, they played Gesture at main tank. And I think that was a problem for them. And I think they fixed that moving forwards. I think there's no way they make that mistake again. And I think that they
Wind or rain,
here's the consistency. Avast had Soul Dynasty second to last in the APAC rankings.
Well, but this is but the thing. Once again, I did say at the beginning during the episode, I would have that was made a couple months ago. I would have revised my Soul position a bit, and
so
also
you put
this was
now second to last.
Potentially with their roster change. Yeah, potentially. I mean, with their current roster change, this pick is heavily influenced. If Fusion had its original roster, I would 100% have Fusion winning. 100%.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Like, there's just no question. It's literally because of the roster.
I wouldn't have even thought about it. Yeah,
I don't think that's a slam dunk again. I think Fusion's original roster, it's still gonna be a process integrating Mano to that team. I feel like I'm screaming against a wall here, but he doesn't naturally fit.
Welcome to the club now. That's what I've been saying as well.
And gesture. It's the first week. They don't show up till like the week 8, week 9. Like,
fair enough.
They could have got. Yeah, they would have beat them.
Also, the Dynasty support line has gotten worse in my opinion, with Onimo. I thought Tobi's better than Onimo, but whatever. Let's go on.
I actually disagreed with all of you. I don't know why I thought I picked the same as Avast, but
who'd you have in this one, Kurt?
Of course, I picked Philly. They're gonna win.
Yeah.
All right, next match.
There we go.
The honeymoon face.
Honeymoon. Oh my god. All right. The last game, the fifth match that Jonathan has picked out for us here. The Dallas Fuel against the Los Angeles Gladiators.
I mean, did anyone give Dallas a map?
I might have. Let me see.
I gave them nothing. I gave it a 3-0.
I actually did give them a singular map. I did.
I have Dallas going 0-2 in the first week.
Yeah, I think that is. I think it's very possible that Dallas could go 0-2 in the first week.
I give them the map.
Dallas could still look decent and go 0-2 in the first week.
Bro, Dallas has a tough schedule. They have Houston Gladiators, and then next week they have Justice and Boston. Like, that's not an easy game either.
The thing is, to say that that's a tough schedule is to say that like Houston and Boston are both tough games. They're not. They're very beatable games for Dallas.
They should be beatable, but I think they'll be tough.
If they are tough, then that's just Dallas being
But that's
poor.
not a tough schedule. That's like tough relative to them. That's like saying if I am a regular dude and I have to go play on the NBA court, that's a tough game for me. Like, but if I go to my YMCA and play pickup game, like that's way less tough. And that's the equivalent to playing Houston and Boston versus playing like Shock and fucking Justice.
Yeah, maybe I just don't think Dallas is that good.
Yeah, that could be what we've learned here today. All right. Well, that is fabulous. The random people can join our Plat Chat Pick'ems, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes. We made
How do they do that, Jonathan?
There's a button, I think, that's called like join a leaderboard or search or something for leaderboard, and it's just called Plat Chat. There's no password. You can just search for that thing.
The random people with random names can join.
Well, it has to be linked to your Battle.net account.
Right.
Generally.
Yeah.
I didn't want to get into that hole where it's like, people have to go back in this episode and find the perfect timestamp for the password and like all that.
We could put an advert either side of the password and just farm them. Just farm them for clicks.
I also could have tweeted it out, but
or we could just say there was a password and just put ad after ad.
Or you could just
never got to the password.
Put a password on it.
That's true.
True. I mean, that's
in fact what we do.
Should I show the password and stuff?
Is there a
password? We don't have a password. Yeah.
Well, to join it, it's this.
Yeah, there it is. That is. Go to join leaderboard. And then if you click on join leaderboard, it'll tell you what to do. Then you just put that in.
Mm-hmm. I'm gonna win.
I'm not even in there yet. So.
Bren even make picks.
Who knows?
Can you check Bren's?
Let's see.
Bren's thing.
I don't know if you can.
You should be able to look at your picks. That's the whole point of the leaderboard is you can look at everyone's picks, right?
Yeah, I would assume so. If it was private,
they might not. But they may not let it do until the games actually happen.
Bren
prevent you from
picks.
Yeah, to prevent you from picking what other people have done. Oh, you can see Kurt.
Yeah, I can see Bren's picks.
What are go for anything juicy? Hold on.
He picked.
Let me see.
Dallas over Houston 3-2.
Okay, fair.
Picked Shock over LA 3-2.
Okay.
What else did we go on? He 3-0. Atlanta versus Florida. He picked Florida.
Jesus Christ!
He picked Florida.
He picked Florida.
Oh my god!
Yeah, he picked Florida.
Oh my god, Brett is so smart.
If you And that
Avast was
doesn't
gonna
even
throw
put a
stuff.
little bit of doubt in your mind, Avast.
No,
does
there's
it?
no doubt in my mind because Bren occasionally does like the infinite monkey typewriter theorem where he picks out some genius stuff. So that's fair. I'll allow it.
Okay.
There's
What about
really nothing
Philly
else.
Soul?
Philly Soul 3-1 Soul.
Okay. And Dallas Gladiators?
3-0. Glad.
Wow. Nothing really that hot
Yeah.
in there. I was hoping for some
Yeah.
lava hot kind of take. All right.
Yeah.
We're moving on from the Plat Chat Pick'ems. You can join us in the Plat Chat Pick'ems if you want. We have some prophecy segments now where we're trying to predict who our favorites are to be able to win some awards at the end of the year. And the first one we want to begin with is the Rookie of the Year predictions. And I want to start with our esteemed guest here, Mr. Avast, Mr. A. Vast, Anthony Vast. What is your prediction for who will win the Rookie of the Year this year?
Well, it's actually really tough because there's a lot of really good rookies, but being honest with myself, I picked Gaga of the Chengdu Hunters.
Oh, interesting.
Because I actually legitimately believe that they have distilled the power of Among within a player that is able to functionally play their role and like that is Gaga. I actually legit am excited about Gaga because he could turn Chengdu into a team that is only memes and dreams to dreams coming true, potentially. I'm actually really big on it. I'm big on Gaga.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate. I was going to say Gaga.
Well,
Were you
that's
really?
okay.
Yeah. I'm pretty high on Chengdu and APAC, and I think he's like a big reason why they don't have to play Wrecking Ball all the time. But I can give somebody else though.
Well,
Maybe
Nothing wrong with following a good prediction.
yeah, I mean, you can just go for Gaga as well if you want.
Nothing wrong.
I actually
do it
think
first, yeah.
I think Muse will be in the Rookie of the Year conversation just because I think the Gladiators will be so high that they'll be so highly rated, and he will obviously look really good in that type of scenario and has great players playing around him at all levels, right? Where I think if you're Washington, maybe you worry about the supports, but with Shu and Moth, you're not worried about that at all. And I think he'll just put up crazy numbers with the Gladiators as they just dunk on people. So I think he has a very good Rookie of the Year chance.
Yeah. I'm not convinced on the Gaga pick, to be honest. Not because Gaga's bad by any means. I just don't have faith that the Chengdu coaching staff is going to feel confident in benching Eamon. I don't know. There's just something in me that I just don't believe that they're going to leave him on the bench the whole season. I think
that's actually a very fair consideration.
I think they should, but
agree.
I don't know whether they'll have the guts to do it, you know?
Yeah.
So the player that I'm going to go for, we've actually all picked main tanks here, which is really weird because I'm going for Mag. I think Mag is in my opinion, Mag is the like standout early season pred. Best main tank coming out of Korean contenders. He's on a super team as well that has title aspirations, to be honest. I'm not saying that they're going to win it, but they're aspiring to be number one, or at least win some kind of stage at some point during the season. And I think he's a flashy player. And I think flashy normally equals good in a lot of people's minds. I think he's good as well, but he's not just the guy that's going to quietly get shit done. He's got very high mechanical skill on a really flashy team. And as long as they can give enough resources to him and kind of not just only pocket decay, and Mag is actually able to still get some of that work done, I think he could look like a beast this season.
Yeah, I picked Mag as well. I think Mag will be the Rookie of the Year. I mean, he's also coming into the league. He's a rookie, and he's playing main tank alongside Fury. That's a pretty nice duo to have in your team. I think as well, like Matt said, like it's probably going to be someone who's on a successful team and has success because we already see, many of these top teams, they pick up rookies anyway for various reasons. And I think that Washington Justice, I think they'll be good this year. I think they'll be great this year, actually. And so I think Mag is like an obvious choice for that category.
I think Pelican...
it's not a hot take, really. Like, Mag is like the go-to pick.
Sure.
If
I was going to ask you guys if we weren't going to pick main tanks because we've all picked main tanks. Like, what about a DPS pick? You just said Pelican.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I would have said like Pelican or maybe one of the NYXL.
Yeah, I was
going to
say
Feather. Good. I was going to say Feather and Pelican would have been the two that I would have said. Yeah,
I think Gwangbun might fucking steal people's hearts as well. Honestly, he's another player that's going to fit straight into the like flashy. You can exactly see his impact in every game because he's going to pop up in the kill feed all the time. See that happening. What about anything else? Do you think there's any like supports or off tanks that should be on people's radars? I was thinking maybe Ligue.
Violet
but that's not a
year.
rookie. But that's not a rookie.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Sorry, I was thinking about that.
If we're talking about rookies, once again, I must go to Chengdu and fucking 1987. Far away, 1987.
Wow, that's a good one.
Sure.
Chengdu's got some ballers this year.
Yeah, they do. They definitely do. All right. Yeah.
Yeah. Nobody else really kind of like. Yeah, it catches my eye.
Who was? I think it was Custer. Was mega high on Assassin.
On Assassin. Yeah.
You think? Because
how could he? I mean, if you're on the same team with Mag, Decay, and Fury, it's going to be hard to look like incredible.
You have to think about the story
as well from Defiant. Onsun J, I think actually could be a pretty
first
solid
year
pick.
that Rookie of the Year. We haven't had a main support win.
We haven't had a main support rookie.
Have we had a main support win an award?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Roll Star. Yeah, they
maybe
a Roll
Stars.
Yeah.
But I don't really count Roll Stars as much.
Sure.
Yeah, what about, because a main support? Well, a support has to win, and I guess main support, inclined to win.
What about Coach of the Year predictions here? This one is a tough one because there's a lot of coaches that we already know are good, but I think people, the more years you're good, the less likely you are to keep getting it over and over again. What's your thoughts? Again, I want to start with Jonathan because he looks like he has a hot take.
Okay, Jonathan.
Yeah, so I think with the awards as well, you need to keep in mind like the storyline associated with the actual award, like how does the story progress throughout the season, what are the community sentiments towards this player, what have they achieved, etc. And I think dating back to last year when we were considering like Fleta, for example, like, we knew that he was great and obviously had great input, but people are also like drawn towards Fleta because they think of him as like a fantastic player that came to life. That was part of the story. I really think that he like came into Shanghai Dragons after being on Seoul, etc. That was a great story, and I think that led towards him also getting the MVP. I don't think it was like objectively just like gameplay. Bam. I think some of it was story as well. So when it comes to story for Coach of the Year, I think that we'll look at some of these teams and think of like how they've rejuvenated our franchise or our roster. And I look at Florida Mayhem actually, and I think if they're able to if Kuki is able to turn OG around and have a great success with him, I think the community is gonna go batshit crazy at that. And going to be like, OG's fantastic in this team. He's finally made it. Kuki was such a big part for turning this team around. They're going to be like, hey, we lost Fate. He was a big leader of the team, and Kuki is still able to find success with this team. So I think that story could be like a big hit this season, and I think Kuki could win the award because of that.
I think that's a great pick.
Yeah, that's a respectable pick.
Honestly, for a while, I had no clue what the fuck you were talking about. I was like, is he about to fucking say, like, I was like, Fleta was the MVP. I was like, he knows we're fucking talking about coaches, right? All right.
I lost myself because I have a dark horse pick as well, but I'll wait for you guys.
What about you,
I guess? I was going to pick, speaking of revitalizing franchises, and someone that I think has been on the cusp of it, but hasn't quite really hit it, but maybe this is the year, KDG. KDG.
Okay.
Yeah,
good pick.
KDG. Love that guy. I definitely feel like this could be the breakout year for KDG. So,
I mean, breakout. You say that is like, okay, so don't get me wrong, okay? Like if he did it with this Toronto roster, that would be one heck of a breakout. Like that would be explosions, fireworks. But he was fantastic with Philly last year as well.
And also he was good with Seoul, the only coach still to make a 12-man roster work in the whole league. And one of that players was Fissure, the most diva player in the league. And he made it. But yeah, go on. I'm sorry.
I love you, Avast. You're the best.
I thought KDG was a good choice as well. I'm gonna say DPay, from the fact that the Gladiators have always been pretty solid. I think the Gladiators are primed for a really good year, and I think he's a pretty vocal coach, pretty vocal leader. So I think he could kind of be, out there in the forefront. And I also think when you look at a lot of these awards, like sometimes like you take how they've been in the previous years into the equation, where if the Gladiators look like one of the best teams in the league, it kind of looks like DPay's this year. DPay's resume looks completely different, right? Got a lot of value out of like the teams over the last few years, even when you thought they were going to be maybe a little bit worse, and then finally gets a roster and really hits that ceiling. I think it could be a year where DPay gets some love.
Yeah. Most valuable shoulder.
Bren's firing off a hot take.
What did he just say?
You can't just shout across the room.
Get him on cam.
Is Bren here? Show him to us.
Oh my god, he lives.
Bren.
Oh my god, he lives.
Here's my hot take. My one cameo is Laurie of Boston.
Oh,
Okay,
that's my dark horse.
Fair. That's
yes.
fair. Yeah.
Yeah,
I can
that's
see
a
it.
good pick.
And that's all I'm gonna say.
That's a great
Bye-bye,
pick.
Bren.
Love that.
Bye. Josh, who are you gonna take?
I think that. So,
Uh-oh.
I have a safe pick and a mental pick. Actually, it's not that mental, not at all. But my safe pick is that I think that people will just go for Moon. I think if Shanghai win, I think people will just vote for Moon. Even though I think a lot of the other teams, like, for example, if Justice do well, or if Gladiators do well, people are going to attribute that to the players that they picked up.
True.
I don't think people are going to attribute it to the teams as much. But I think for Shanghai, because they were good last year, and there was already talk about like, oh, they play such a coordinated style. It's so well, they're so well coached or whatever. I don't even know whether it comes from the coach, to be honest. I don't even think it does come directly from Moon. But I think that's like a bit of a shoe-in like pick. If it's not Krusty, it'll be Moon. But I also think that there's an opportunity for the NYXL coaches to get massive credit this year. Because their scouting has been good in the off season based on the DPS that they've picked up, has been weird with them picking up Friday. So if Friday pops off, people are going to be on their dicks about how good the scouting is. And then if someone like Yakpung completes the redemption arc story after having not been that good previously in the league, there's just even more fuel onto the fire in terms of like, wow, they've spotted the hidden gems everywhere. Even if only some of that was, even if only some of that comes true and they only perform to like, I don't know, third best in APAC, I could still see that being the narrative.
Yeah, but then you get stuck into a situation real quick where you're like the LA Valiant of last year of APAC, and no one's going to vote for the team that doesn't win. They always vote for the team that wins.
Yeah,
Sag part. That's the Sag part. But
yeah.
Also, I think, if you're talking about coaches winning for teams that were like revitalized and, brought them to life when they were like big underdogs towards the bottom of the table, the fact that Packing 10 didn't win last year, I mean, that just tells you something, right?
It do be like that.
It's tough to win.
But there was a lot of really good.
Team.
There were so many good choices because of like because Moon was last year and Shanghai went from trash to not trash, and then
that's true. Yeah.
And then like you also had
Paris.
Krusty. Yeah, you had Rush.
Yeah.
There were so many options last year, and it's gonna be the same this year too.
Wonderful. That's our Coach of the Year predictions. What the heck was the final one? I've put the topics on my phone and I put my phone away. What was the final one again? It was
Regular season MVP.
Regular season MVP. The lower third is there. I don't need to rely on my phone. I just need to rely on Kurt. Put full faith in him. What's your choice, Mr. Avast, esteemed guest?
I think this should be the year, hopefully, that we get the Violet MVP. I think this is the year. I think if he puts up another year of being an absolute testosterone-fueled anabolic flex support that dominates everyone in his path, this should be the year that Violet gets MVP. I think. Like if Shock, especially if Shock have like another winning year, even if they don't necessarily win, but they still have like a really good year, like you can't argue that Violet isn't a fucking freak of beast. Like you just can't. You can't argue it anymore.
A freak of beast.
Like yeah, he's just a freak of beast. Like this guy is monstrously good. So I could see Violet easily winning an MVP.
I think I wanna say something dumb.
Please do. Never stopped you before.
So I think Smurf or Violet makes sense, but this may be the one time where Bren was ahead of the game. What if it's a Moth?
I could definitely see that.
Like,
but the problem is that it's a main support player, and main supports never win awards.
Right, but I think though the narrative of him going from the Shock to the Gladiators and the Gladiators becoming good could increase his value in that.
Definitely.
Yeah.
I think though, if the Gladiators do perform really well, I feel like it will be also opportunities for Kevster and Birdring to pop off massively.
Yeah.
And someone like Kevster could steal the limelight so
Man, the EU simps are going to be just terrible with Kevster. I can't deal with it.
Well, we know from the Valorant scene that doesn't really help you a lot. So, it's all good.
Yeah.
Jonathan, what's your pick?
Well, I mean, I'll double down on the team that I think is going to do great this year, that I think is going to be a standout, and people don't seem to like it. But I think Washington Justice is going to be amazing. I think Decay is just like an absolute force of nature. He's not a beast, but he's a force of nature. And I think that people will be so astounded by his level of elite damage gameplay that I think it'll be very hard to resist voting for anyone else but Decay. And I'll also say that, like, I think, part of it is narrative. I think people will just be like amazed by how good this Washington Justice roster is and just be like, holy shit, they're good. And I'd also want Violet to win that one MVP. But, if people like, it's a very real thing to like get bored of dynasties. And I think, if people are like, San Francisco Shock, they, 2-time league champions, they're still great this year. There's probably multiple players that provide or like help the team be as good as they are. But if they look at the Washington Justice, like Decay is the front man, like he is the star player and he's going to be in the spotlight. And I think if he pops off this year, I think people will be like, holy shit, he's good. He deserves MVP.
Yeah. I'm going to go with the same player that I picked last year for regular season MVP. I'm going to go with Void. I think that that the APAC region has one team that's clearly above the rest. We don't know whether that's going to continue into the future, but it doesn't. To me, it seems like there isn't really that team that's ready to compete with with Shanghai just yet in APAC. I would need to see more from an APAC team to know that they were on the same level. The second best in APAC at the moment on paper still doesn't look quite as good. So I feel like Shanghai are primed to have a fantastic regular season again, even perhaps better than any team in NA. And they're going to look phenomenal, and people are going to, again, turn their attention back over to like Void because Fleta won the regular season MVP last time, to be honest. So yeah, I think that's how it's going to play out.
Yeah. Fair. That's very fair.
I think I voted for Void last year.
It is now
last year I had Urster, so there you go. Tough.
You could vote for Urster this year. He's going to play.
Yeah. That's actually quite.
I was almost going to say, can we just make Urster a rookie again?
Yeah. But it's just so weird because he came from the superstar team of Atlanta Reign. I mean, he was so good before. I'm sorry. Let's move on.
Let's move on. We'll move on now to the most important segment of the week. You just saw him. You all love him, but he's not here. It's Bren's Player of the Week. Yay! Look how purple everything is.
Yeah.
This time, we had Jonathan do it last week, and this time I'm going to randomly select Matthew.
Random.
Give me Matthew Morello's Player of the Week.
So I figure that this would be the last time that we could make it not a player. Because we're starting. So what I decided to do was give it to our good friend Alex Golden Boy Mendez for joining G4. He completed a life kind of dream. He always wanted to be on G4 as a little kid, and now he's there. Maybe this is why you guys haven't recorded Foreheads in a bit. Maybe you guys are selling it to G4 and we just don't know.
G4 heads. G4
heads. Yeah, I mean
so
that makes a ton of sense. But I was very proud for Alex. He's done a lot. It doesn't sound like he's going to be taking like a break from esports, but it sounds like he's going to be way more focused on G4 for now. So I always like to give Golden Boy some love. What's wrong with some GB?
Hey, no, there's nothing wrong with GB, but it's. I mean, this is an Overwatch League focused Bren's Player of the Week. It doesn't always work like that, but I mean, Golden. Yeah, it's just we're taking off we're on a tangent here, aren't we? We're all over the place.
Yeah, see, I said congrats too. You get that?
I asked them for when they're going to do WWE game content, like the create a character.
Well, who else would you have picked? Who else could you have picked?
Who else would I have picked, huh?
Anyone in Overwatch?
Maybe one of the new talent. You could have given it as a joint award to Avril and Vicky Kitty.
Well, I couldn't have given it to all of them because it's just a singular player.
Well, I mean,
singular player. Oh, and now you're a stickler for the rules, are you? When it says player in the fucking award title and you're giving it to Golden Boy.
Well, I mean, they wouldn't have qualified for a player either. I mean,
no, they wouldn't have, Matthew. But neither did yours. You
But
absolute
who
dribble.
else could I have picked?
Who else could you have picked?
We just
Anyone.
He just told you a suggestion with some of the new talent, or like you know,
you could have picked Dante for tweeting. You could have picked Super for doing something. He's probably been streaming, hasn't he? I don't know.
You could have picked Soon.
Soon. You could have picked Soon.
Oh, but I picked Golden Boy. I mean, I can't change it now. Can I give it to both the Golden Boy and Soon?
No. Listen, we're just never letting you decide ever again.
You put me on the spot. It's not really fair.
Yeah, well, listen, you do not get to decide ever again because you've tarnished the reputation.
Well, it's Bren's fucking thing. Why doesn't he just come back and do it? Yeah, you hear that? You hear that, Bren?
I'm not sure. All right, well,
get on camera and fight me, Bren. What do you think about that?
You're talking to an empty room. Who are you talking to?
Where is he?
He's going crazy.
Find him.
He's in his room, probably.
Find him.
I'm not hunting around the house for him. That's not my responsibility.
Get
Am
him.
I my brother's keeper? No, and that's not a hint that I've slain him with a rock to the head either. All right,
that'd be terrible.
That's just a
Matt
little.
doesn't know the reference, so
Matt hasn't read a book, so he doesn't know.
That's a
Maybe it's
reference
in
from
that book.
That's not a
Maybe
reference
it's in
from
that
a
book.
book. That's a reference from the book, Matt. You haven't even read the book. You're unbelievable. You're unbelievable.
That's fine. I'll catch up eventually.
Catch up eventually.
Once they make a movie about it.
I mean, they have made movies about it. They have. They actually have. In fact, they have made a couple movies. You haven't seen the movies either, apparently.
Nah.
They even made a cartoon. It's called VeggieTales. Have you seen VeggieTales? Like that's.
I'll catch up on the Bible when they make a movie of it. There's never been a more Mr. X comment in my life. All right.
I think I killed Johnny.
You guys have to leave a comment in the description, right? I want you guys to give book recommendations to Matt. Seriously.
Yeah.
Seriously.
I'll read one.
And I don't mean meme books. I mean you have the task of turning Matthew Morello into a book lover. What book do you get him to read
Johnny
first?
is never gonna recover, I think.
He's just slain.
They're just gonna be screaming into a void. Like what? Asking Matt to read a book. I don't know what they're gonna get.
I genuinely think your quality of life would improve if you enjoyed reading, Matt.
What do you mean?
Oh my fucking
My
God.
life's great. I have sports. I have video games.
Yeah.
But
No.
what else do I need?
Okay,
You don't
that's
need
fair.
anything else.
I
Yeah.
can't
Oh.
argue with that.
Join us again on
take
Plat
out
episode
food.
83. We'll be back next week. I mean, it's just gone. It's done.
All right, well, guess we're just gonna end then.
Yes.
Wait, did it not end?
No, Matt, didn't end.
Can we end it?
Oh my
Please
God.
don't.
Is it over?
I don't know what's happening.
End it.